Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto has a scroll that held the secrets of long-forgotten Taijutsu style part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Naruto sat on his bed, his knees pressed against his chest and his arms wrapped around them. His chin rested on top of his knee while his satin ocean blue eyes gazed at the old scroll in front of him. The D-rank mission was supposed to be simple. That demon cat Tora had escaped the village and their mission was to find him. Kakashi ordered him, Sasuke, and Sakura to split up to search for the little bastard. Naruto had admittedly half-assed his search by walking slowly with his hands in his pockets, and somewhat shouting Tora's name. But then, he found a cabin. It was a simple, one-story log cabin, but it had a hole in the roof. He had figured Tora was there, and so he walked to it, and his surprise, Tora was there, but he wasn't alone. Tora sat by the bedside of a weak, elderly gentleman, who lay on a futon with a serene smile on his face. Naruto was shocked to see him and rushed into the cabin to try in any way to help. "It's okay, Shinobi-san, there is nothing to help this," the man had told him with the kindest voice Naruto had ever heard. Sure, the Sandaime could be nice to him, but he was nice to everyone in the village. This man was nice directly to him. Naruto tried to convince the man to let him take him to his sensei, but the man refused. "I've lived a long life. When you reach my age and the time has come, you don't run from it, you face it head on. No need to prolong the inevitable." At hearing the conviction and acceptance in his voice, Naruto stopped trying to convince him after that. "Well, if you're sure, Aji-san," Naruto had told him. "I, however, will stay here. I don't know what I could do, but leaving after knowing you're going to die feels wrong to me." The man opened his eyes and Naruto was rewarded by a gaze that warmed his soul. The older man's gray eyes reminded Naruto of a clouded sky. "You are a strange young man, wasting his time with this old soul, but I do thank you," he had told Naruto. "If you can, are you able to tell me about yourself?" Naruto asked. "I'm just a wandering soul in this world. Always had been all of my life. I searched to find a powerful opponent to hone my skills to perfect my taijutsu," the man had replied. "I did once. He was fast and he had blonde hair and blue eyes similar to your own. It was a glorious battle that left me beaten. After my defeat, I decided to continue traveling until I came upon his home village of Konoha." "Why didn't you stay in my village?" Naruto questioned, but the man chuckled at his response. "I went there for the sole purpose of issuing a rematch to the man, but I found that he had passed away. Sacrificed his life to protect that village. He was a good man and I decided to remain on the outskirts to protect this land from any thieves or any other ill-intentioned folk," the man answered. Naruto smiled at this and glanced around. Other than the large, beaten-up sack that sat in the corner, it had looked so barren and lifeless that Naruto couldn't stop himself and asked, "You lived here this entire time, right? Why no pictures of your friends or family?" "There is no need. All of the precious memories I hold are all in my heart," the man replied as he reached up and weakly tapped his chest. The man suddenly began to cough violently, which caused Naruto to look at him with concern. The man then looked up and asked, "That concern, is that for me, child?" He then let out a weak chuckle. "Your eyes. So filled with compassion for a man you've seen once. They remind of his." The man then coughed again as Tora meowed. The man reached out and gave Tora a pet as he told him, "This little fella has been my companion for a few months. I rarely see him, but when I do, I often give him a treat. There is fish over in that bucket. Do you mind, child?" Naruto had gotten the fist and placed it in front of Tora, who began to eat. "I can tell by your headband that you are a shinobi. Tell me, why did you become one?" "I want people to acknowledge me," Naruto had told him sadly. "All my life I had been ignored and pushed aside for something outside of my control." The man smiled at him and replied softly, "While that is a noble goal, you shouldn't use that as the sole reason." Naruto was confused. His goal was noble, but he shouldn't use that as the reason for him becoming a shinobi. The man shut his eyes and his breathing had started to slow down slightly. "I may have spent my life as a wanderer honing my craft, but I also used my skills to protect those weaker than myself." The man had coughed again. "And while trying to carve your name into the hearts of others to have them see your worth is noble, the true noble path is to protect those less fortunate than yourself, and those that you care for." Naruto saw that the man's breathing was getting shallow, and the light in his eyes was dimming. "Aji-san?" Naruto exclaimed in a panic. The man didn't hesitate to smile. "It's almost time. Tell me, child, what is your name?" he softly asked. "Uzumaki Naruto," Naruto answered softly, his eyes welling up. The man slowly pointed to a scroll at the corner of the lodge. "Inside that sack is my training gi and a scroll. That scroll holds the Taijutsu style that my master trained me in so long ago. It taught me not only how to fight but how to protect as well. I want you to have it." "I can't accept that," Naruto told him somberly. "I see a good heart in you, Uzumaki Naruto," the man told him softly as he placed a hand on his head. "And that is the heart that I can trust with my most prized possession." The old man offered one last smile as he murmured, "So take it, young man, as a thank you for granting an old man the chance to speak to a pure-hearted soul on his final day, and use it to protect those that truly need it." And it was then he took his last breath and departed from the land of the living. Naruto remembered feeling as if someone had punched him in the chest when the man had stopped talking to him. With tears streaming down his face, Naruto summoned 2 clones and dug a grave for him beside his lodge. He carried the old man and buried him before he placed 2 sticks and tied them together into a makeshift cross and stabbed it on the mound of dirt before he broke down and sobbed, all while Tora meowed sadly beside him. Soon, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura found him and Tora at the grave. Tora hadn't resisted when Sakura had grabbed him, and Naruto didn't resist in telling Kakashi what had occurred. Kakashi allowed him to take the beat-up sack with him as he returned to Konoha, and after completing the mission, Naruto went home, took out the scroll, and sat on his bed, where he remained since. Naruto couldn't beat the sadness that weighed in his chest at the man's passing, but Naruto knew that once it passed, he would learn what the scroll held and he would use it to protect. And he would never go back on his word because that was his shinobi way. Naruto was puzzled. He held the open scroll in his hand, but it didn't detail anything. All it had was a single passage. To become a practitioner of the Ansatsuken, you must first draw out the power from within yourself. Curiously, Naruto narrowed his eyes. Did they mean chakra? No, that couldn't be. Otherwise, it would have just said chakra. He scanned the scroll to see if there was a follow-up to his odd statement, until he found the passage. To use the Ansatsuken to its fullest extent, you must find and connect with the Mu no Ken power of nothingness within you. The power of nothingness? Naruto found the name bizarre, but he continued to read on. The power of nothingness is a state of consciousness transcending ordinary perspective, born through spiritual and mental refinement. It is the power to act without being attached to emotions and thought, free of fear, anger, pride, and ego, to draw upon the contents of one's heart intuitively without obstacle and hesitation, and to be aware of the world and to know one's place and meaning within its vastness, to flow with all of creation without the need of worry, desire, and doubt. To find the connection to the Mu no Ken, you must achieve a mentally clear and emotionally calm and stable state, and find the opening within your soul. Only then will your training to master the Ansatsuken begin. Naruto finished, and beneath the passage, he saw an image of a humanoid in the meditative lotus position. Naruto grimaced. He was taught in class that meditation was a helpful tool when working on chakra control and was taught how to perform this, but Naruto knew himself well enough that sitting around was no good for him, so he always faked it. Meditating was such a waste of time. "I see a good heart in you, Uzumaki Naruto," the man told him softly as he placed a hand on his head. "And that is a heart that I can trust with my most prized possession." The old man offered one last smile. It was that image that stopped Naruto's complaints immediately. "No, I made an oath," Naruto told himself softly. "I swore that I would learn what the scroll held and that I would use the contents within to protect. And if meditating is going to help that, then fuck it, I will do it." With that determined feeling, Naruto nodded and mimicked the image's posture and form and shut his eyes. He had to clear his mind and enter an emotional and mental calming state. Breathe in, breathe out, slow and steady, allow the world to melt away, Naruto thought to himself repeatedly, his voice calm and soothing to his ears. He didn't know when or how, but soon, he slowly stopped the slow mantra and felt the world around him begin to fade away. Naruto didn't know how long he had sat there in that spot, but when he finally opened his eyes slowly, he found himself not in his room, but in a vast shallow lake bed that seemed to stretch out into the horizon. As he looked ahead, he could see that there were mountains in the distance. Naruto looked up and saw that it was night and the sky was littered with visible stars with the Milky Way stretching across it. It was beautiful. Naruto sat there in the shallow water to just bask in the beautiful surroundings that he found himself in, but it was then that the water beneath him began to glow an ethereal sky blue color. Particles of light began to slowly float from the water and into the air around him as he looked around in amazement. He slowly reached forward and touched a particle with his index finger, where it shattered into shimmering light that spread apart briefly before it flew into his fingertip. "What is this place?" Naruto asked himself. Suddenly, the orb stopped floating and remained in the air, which startled Naruto. The orbs began to fly to a spot above the lake bed where they coalesced into a singular medium-sized sky-blue orb that seemed to hum a gentle white light around it. Naruto walked towards the orb and began to reach out towards it, but he paused and reared his hand back. Was he to touch it? What if this was a test or a trick of some type? And yet, he didn't feel any sort of malevolence from this odd orb. Strangely enough, he felt peace ebbing from it. Naruto reached forwards towards the orb, but the moment he did, he heard something from behind him. Naruto turned around as another orb appeared, but this one was made from a dark inky substance. Naruto felt a huge amount of E coming from it, as the inky substance began to take on a humanoid shape. Once the shape was formed, Naruto watched as a body formed around it from the feet up, but as it did, his eyes grew large as he recognized the shape as himself. But when he looked into the blood-red eyes of his doppelganger, he saw a darkness in them that terrified him. Surprised to see me? The dark mirror questioned with a smirk of malice. You shouldn't be, after all, for I am a shadow, the true self, the dark shade said as he spread his arms with his smirk widening to reveal his sharpened teeth. Why are you here? Naruto firmly asked. Why? A pretty dumb question, don't you think? His mirror asked. You are a sucker, aren't you? That scroll has so much power, and yet you cling to an old man's words? And for what? Because he looked at you with kindness? Naruto narrowed his eyes at the disrespectful tone. TCH, if he knew that we held the Kyuubi, you wouldn't be doing this because he wouldn't have given us the time of day. The echo exclaimed. That's not true, Naruto said strongly. He saw the good in me. Much more than anyone else ever did. The doppelganger laughed and replied, at least you aren't stupid enough to ignore what Konoha has done to us. Who could? Naruto asked softly as he looked away from his dark mirror and to the orb itself, and through the reflection, he saw sadness in his eyes. I'm not stupid, you know. While I am surprised at the fact that you are here, I'm not surprised at your existence, nor am I not surprised at the hate that radiates off of you. Because you're right. You're a part of me. You admit it freely, a nice change of pace from the depressed mess you usually are behind closed doors, the dark echo said to him with an impressed air. But that doesn't change the fact that we are trying to gain this power to protect these people. The ones that have ostracized and despised us for something we had no control over. Naruto remained quiet, allowing the twisted version of himself to speak. This power should be used for our vengeance. Revenge for our lost childhood. For our lost innocence. For all that we've suffered, though. Don't you think we've earned that? Don't you think we've earned the right to take what they took from us? The doppelganger raged. No, Naruto told his darkened self as he turned back to him. You only see the evil this village has, but there is good in it. I know there is, and it's that goodness that I will protect. Naruto paused to turn back to the orb. Just because I have this hate, doesn't mean I will let it control or hinder me from doing what is right, and with those words he grasped the orb, which caused a bright light to fill the area. Naruto finished as the light enveloped him. But in that light he heard a snarl filled with hate. You are a fool, his doppelganger seethed out. Do you will, but the moment this village lets you down, I will be there and I will do what you are too cowardly to do. Naruto opened his eyes and found himself back in bed, his body still in the lotus position and the scroll on the bed before him. Naruto glanced at his hands, then closed and opened the right one. He then looked at the mirror that hung from his bedroom door and glanced at himself. While he didn't look different, he felt different. How strange. Had he done something wrong when he went to that strange plane? Should he try going there again? Naruto then glanced at the scroll. Maybe he had missed an important step or something. He glanced through the scroll for any sort of clue or passage, but then he noticed something. There were new words in glowing pale blue light. Words that weren't there before. Every punch, kick, throw, and move he had never seen was now printed in the scroll in vast detail where before there was nothing but blank paper. Not only that, there were variations to them from beginner to master. Despite being book dumb, Naruto could easily tell which variation was what, and as much as Naruto wanted to throw himself into the deep end, he owed it to the kind old man to take this seriously. Ansatsuken, the art of the assassination fist, Naruto said successfully as he observed the images imprinted in the scroll that held each move of the Taijutsu. Which meant to start from the very beginning. And the beginning was the hatchling style of the Ansatsuken. Hyuga Hinata was an early bird like her mother before her. She always found it nice to stretch out her limbs while her clan, and by extension, her village, slept. She had just turned the corner, and was jogging past Team 7's training grounds when she heard the sounds of combat. She ducked behind a tree and saw Uzumaki Naruto and a bunch of clones. They were all practicing katas. But what confused her was that these katas were from a taijutsu she had never seen before. She narrowed her eyes and watched as Naruto motioned for a clone to walk to him, and they began to fight. While Hinata had seen Naruto fight before, something was different. His moves, while still sloppy, looked to be vastly improved from the last time she saw him in a spar, but unlike before, there was confidence behind his movements that wasn't there before. She watched as Naruto ducked under a roundhouse punch, grabbed the clone by the jacket, quickly fell to his back, and flipped the clone over his head with an added push from his leg, which sent the clone overhead and down to the ground in front of him. She saw that Naruto was a little proud of himself, and it made her proud of him. Naruto got back onto his feet as the clone followed suit, and immediately aimed a somewhat crisp kick to the clone's calf before he followed up with a kick to the midsection before he suddenly rushed forward and pushed himself forward off the ground and shouted Shoryuken. Hinata saw a flash of ethereal blue light flash around Naruto quickly as he delivered a body blow and then an uppercut with both arms extended which carried both himself and the clone off the ground, but his body spun a single full rotation, which caused the other fist to add on to the blow before he delivered an angled straight jab to the clone's face, which sent it to the ground. Naruto landed on the ground as the clone dispersed into smoke. She saw that he was displeased by what occurred, but like the determined person he was, he summoned another clone and continued. Hinata had gone for a jog that morning, but she soon found herself watching Naruto as he trained in this odd style, silently sending her support to her blonde-haired crush until she had to leave to prepare for training. Despite his lazy demeanor, Hatake Kakashi was an observant man. He had to be when it came to the three rambunctious youths that he taught. The last Uchiha, a pink-haired fangirl, and the pariah of Konoha? This combination had to be watched at all times unless he wanted mass chaos and confusion. So despite his head always being buried in his favorite literature, Kakashi always watched, and lately, he had noticed something in his blonde-haired student. Ever since the encounter Naruto had with the dying man in the cabin 2 weeks ago, there was a different feeling to the Uzumaki male he didn't have before. He seemed the same at first glance. He still had his humor, that fox-like smile, and his overall happiness, but the wild and uncontrollable nature of his had faded and was replaced by an air of seriousness and determination that looked out of place on Naruto's face. Not only due to the uncharacteristic nature of the blonde, but because it reminded Kakashi of a man long since gone. And that was of the Yondaime, his teacher. After that, Kakashi took a closer look at Naruto. He noticed that Naruto's sloppy version of the standard Konoha Academy Taijutsu, or KT for short, started to straighten out into something he was unfamiliar with. Along with this, Naruto started to meditate out of the blue. He no longer fawned over Sakura or became combative with Sasuke. It was like he became tempered. But by what? Or by who? Kakashi wouldn't find out that answer until last week Friday. He had gone for a midnight jog when he came upon Naruto at their training grounds. He, along with 4 rows of 5 of his shadow clones, was practicing katas of taijutsu he had no recollection of before. But at some point, Naruto broke away from the katas and instead sat down and began to meditate, but unlike the previous times he had done this, Kakashi noticed flickering of this strange bluish-white energy flow around him and into his open hands. This energy tried to coalesce into an orb, but each time it took shape, it became uncontrollable and exploded into light. Kakashi watched Naruto's face flicker in frustration, but instead of huffing and puffing, he merely tried it again. As much as Kakashi had wanted to walk over and see what was going on with his student, he decided against it that night. How could he? He was so proud of Naruto for taking his shinobi training seriously like this. Plus, he didn't want to surprise him or the cute Hyuga girl who watched him as well. So now Kakashi stood at his best friend's training ground with his limited edition Ike Ike Paradise Midnight Edition in his hand, his eye locked on the scandalous story before him. Who knew Ryoko was so daring when it came to Tenchi? Kakashi giggled, a blush on his face. My eternal rival. Kakashi looked up, shut his book, placed it into his kunai pouch, and gave a lazy wave to Guy as he approached. Morning, Guy. How are things? Kakashi asked. They are going fantastic. The mission we had was a success and my date with Vidal-san went great, Guy said. I'm glad to hear that, Guy. You really deserve it. Truly, Kakashi said, his tone distant but genuine. It always bothered him somewhat when he saw his friends in successful relationships, and he had no idea why. Was he just lonely? Hoping to find the joy that a significant other could provide? Another time for that thought. So my eternal rival, what brings you around my neck of the woods? Guy questioned. I have a favor to ask of you. Regarding one of my students, Kakashi began. Guy narrowed his eyes curiously. Well, old buddy, it's time. Naruto stared down at his orange jumpsuit with a sad expression. It had served him well over the past couple of years, but it was time. Sleep well, dear prince, Naruto said with a small bow. Naruto then folded up the jacket, followed by the pants, and placed them in the bottom drawer of his drawer. Naruto then turned his head and looked at the contents that came from the large white sack. In the sack were several pairs of martial arts gi and matching pants, the bottoms of them ripped, and the sleeves ripped off, and all of them had various colors. There were also multiple pairs of thick, fingerless martial arts gloves, martial arts belts, and headbands, all in various colors as well. Naruto eyed down the red gi and then the white gi and shook his head. He didn't know why, but he wasn't ready to wear those colors yet. Instead, Naruto picked up the dark orange gi. He then shook his head. He would come back to orange in the future, but for now, it was time for a change. Naruto sat the orange gi down and picked up the dark yellow colored gi and grinned. This would do just fine. Naruto slipped on the dark yellow pants, which had the waistline around his lower abdomen, tucked in his dark blue shirt, then wrapped the martial arts gi around him, then finished it off with a dark blue martial arts belt and matching color gloves. Naruto then looked into the mirror. It felt different to see him in something other than his jumpsuit, but it also felt right. Naruto then glanced at his shinobi headband and narrowed his eyes briefly before he pulled it off his head and wrapped it around his left bicep. Much better, Naruto said, the end of his bangs falling over his eyes slightly. Naruto slipped on his shinobi sandals and strapped the Ansatsuken scroll across his back and walked out of his apartment to begin his trek to Team 7's training ground. Despite being born and raised in Konoha, he never had the opportunity to just take it all in. He was always running late to something or running from someone, and he never took the time to enjoy the peaceful scenery around him. Naruto continued to leisurely walk until he found himself at his training ground, but found it empty. He didn't expect Kakashi to be there until an hour from now due to his chronic lateness, so he wasn't concerned. But what did concern him was that Sasuke, nor Sakura, was there. They were supposed to meet today, right? Had he misread the calendar? Naruto shrugged. It didn't matter. Team or no team, he was going to train. Naruto strolled to the middle of the training field and took a breath. In the past 2 weeks, he had noticed that his knowledge of the Ansatsuken style had increased, but he was still unable to perform the Hadouken, aka the Surge Fist, or even get the basics down in order to do it. Naruto took a deep breath and held out his cupped hands. Clear all distractions, allow your willpower to become energized into and through your palms, Naruto instructed himself, as he closed his eyes and evened his breathing. Naruto could feel his body begin to heat up, along with the area around him, before it all began to move into his palms, where he felt a warm energy begin to gather. Naruto opened his eyes and saw the faint glow peeking through his fingers. He then drew his arms to the right side of his body and focused on the concentrated energy. The Hadouken is an extension of your fist, an extension of yourself. Pour everything you have into it, he continued as energy began to swirl from the air around him and into his palm, with the orb expanding and shrinking rapidly as if it was unable to maintain its form. Naruto narrowed his eyes and focused with gritted teeth. He had been trying to get this right in the past 2 weeks. He prayed it worked, just this once. And when it's time, you release. Hadouken. Naruto thrust his hand forward to shoot out the attack, but instead of it being an orb, it was a wave of energy that traveled barely away from his palm before fading away. Frustration bubbled through Naruto. Why couldn't he perfect this? What was he missing? Naruto took a deep breath to calm himself, found his center, and let determination fill his form. No need to get frustrated. Practice makes perfect, Naruto told himself, the frustration leaving his system. After another deep breath, Naruto nodded and returned to his posture to try once more. However, a hard kick to the back of the head stopped Naruto from his second try. Naruto skidded against the ground from the blow but managed to recover and performed a handspring off the ground and landed on his feet, which skidded against the ground briefly. Across from him stood a shinobi around his age with a green jumpsuit, orange legwarmers, wrapping around his hand and forearms, black bowl-cut hair, and large eyebrows. Hey, what's the big idea? Naruto asked as he rubbed the back of his head. I am Rock Lee, a member of Team Guy and the miniature green beast of Konoha. The boy introduced himself with a friendly salute. Practitioner of Goken, the strong fist, and I challenge you to a match. Naruto stared at him with a blank expression. You could have just asked, Naruto told him. I did, Lee responded. With a kick to the head? Naruto questioned. Yes, was Lee's simple reply. Well, who am I to turn down a challenge? Naruto questioned with a grin. Very well. I, Uzumaki Naruto, practitioner of the Ansatsuken, the Assassination Fist, accept your challenge. Naruto immediately stepped into the stance of the Ansatsuken. Bout start, theme of bout, Kasanago residence from Street Fighter V. Well, who am I to turn down a challenge? Naruto questioned with a grin. I, Uzumaki Naruto, practitioner of the Ansatsuken, the Assassination Fist, accept your challenge. Naruto immediately stepped into the stance of the Ansatsuken. Rock Lee's eyes sparkled in delight as he stepped into the Goken stance and exclaimed, The Assassination Fist, I'm already excited. Without further fanfare, Naruto ran forward and then leaped into the air to deliver a flying kick. Lee sidestepped the attempted attack. Naruto skidded to a stop and turned around and blocked a right jab, then a follow-up left jab from Lee before he hopped up and attempted a rising knee uppercut. Lee leaned back to avoid the knee and took 2 steps backward as Naruto advanced and attempted a leg sweep, but when jumped to avoid it, Naruto stopped mid-sweep and lunged forward and tackled Lee out of the air and down to the ground. With Lee pinned to the ground, Naruto aimed a right jab then a left one to strike him, but Lee moved his head away from each blow before countering with 2 jabs to Naruto's face, which caused Naruto to take both hits. Naruto rolled backward off of Lee and onto his face while Lee flipped to his feet. Naruto took advantage of this and dashed forward, only for Lee to jump into the air to perform a roundhouse kick as he shouted, Konoha Senpu. Naruto lifted his right forearm to block the blow, then pushed the leg away as he shouted, Shoryuken. Naruto delivered a rising uppercut with both arms extended, which nailed Lee in the chest and then beneath the chin and sent both into the air, while both shinobi spun a full rotation due to the momentum of the attack. As the rotation slowed, Naruto landed and delivered a hard jab to Lee's face, but Lee managed to grab the fist and launched the shinobi over his shoulder and down in the direction to the ground. Naruto spun to the ground and crashed against it, but quickly rebounded and landed on his feet. Lee landed on his feet and dashed towards Naruto and performed a low kick to Naruto's left lower leg, then aimed a kick to Naruto's midsection. When Naruto tried to respond with a right jab, Lee smacked his hand up and slammed his elbow into his chest, then shouted Konoha Shofu, which caused Naruto to rocket into the air. Konoha de Zenpu! Lee shouted as he dashed up into the air and landed a spinning kick to Naruto's left side. Naruto gasped in shock, only for another kick to collide with his stomach while Lee's body spun faster, sending them both higher into the air with each kick to Naruto's form before Lee finished it with a heel drop. Naruto flew towards the ground, and with the impending feeling of certain doom, he calmed his racing mind and took a deep breath. He held out his cupped hands, then drew his arms to the right side of his body and focused on the concentrated energy that began to form. Just as he was about to hit the ground, Naruto lunged his hands forward with a shout of Hadouken. And just like before, a wave of energy collided with the ground from his palm, which caused a small crater but assisted Naruto in cushioning the blow. Naruto pushed off the fading energy and landed backward on his feet, where he skidded to a stop. His arms were somewhat numb, but he had done it. Lee landed on the ground and shouted, "Well done, but we are not done," before he launched himself toward Naruto and began to deliver several high-speed kicks. To Lee's astonishment, however, Naruto managed to keep up with his speed by avoiding each strike. After attempting to sweep Naruto's leg from beneath him, which caused Naruto to jump to avoid it, Lee swiftly hopped forward to land a knee to Naruto's face, but Naruto managed to block the knee and push the knee back, which made Lee land on the ground straight into a backward stumble. Taking advantage of his opponent's momentary off-balance, Naruto dashed forward and then performed a tumbling overwheel kick forward with his leading leg, which caused his foot to slam into Lee's head, making Lee's head whip down to the ground hard. Naruto landed on his feet and then performed a second one on the down Lee's body, but Lee rolled to the right to avoid it, and when Naruto slammed to the ground on his side, Lee jumped up and landed a hard elbow to Naruto's chest. Naruto gasped out before he pushed Lee's elbow off of him. The two flipped to their feet in unison, only for Lee to leap up and shout Konoha Senpu, and landed a hard kick to the square of Naruto's face, causing Naruto to skid backward from the blow and crash against a tree. Blood fell down Naruto's now broken nose as he rubbed his face and dashed to the left to avoid Lee as he delivered a flying kick to the tree as he shouted dynamic entry. The moment Lee's foot hit the tree, Naruto leaped up and shouted tornado. With a spin of his body, kicked Lee once in the left side of his torso with his right foot, which lifted Lee into the air before Naruto's momentum continued the spin, which caused Naruto's left foot to kick Lee's neck before a third rotation caused Naruto's right foot to collide with Lee's face. Lee spiraled in the air from the kicks before he crashed to the ground, with Naruto landing on the ground seconds later. Lee rose to his feet, his forehead and bottom lip bleeding, but there was a smirk on his face, which mirrored the smirk that Naruto held. Yash, Naruto-kun, despite the amateurish way the attacks look, they are very strong, Lee commended with a bright smile. I'm still a newbie with this style, but I'm training very hard to become better, Naruto responded with a good-natured smile. Your response time in order to keep me on my toes is very impressive, Lee told him. And admittedly, Guy-sensei never taught me how to combat your taijutsu like he has when it comes to others, but let's see how fast you really are. I'm pretty fast, Naruto replied. I could outpace ANBU at any given time, but let's see how my speed compares to yours, Lee. I admit, my blood is racing in a way that I've never felt before, Lee admitted as the bandages around his arms loosened. I'm sure Guy-sensei will forgive me for doing this, but I want to see how skilled you truly are. In the distance, Kakashi stared on in surprise. He always knew Naruto had the potential to become a good shinobi, but was always handicapped by his own lack of understanding, but seeing him battle with Guy's protege opened his eyes. He had never seen Naruto fight at this level before. To be able to match Lee blow for blow was amazing. But due to his own time growing up with Lee's master, Lee was eventually going to gain the edge once he felt out Naruto's style. Incredible, Guy breathed out. What a youthful performance your student has, but I have never seen that taijutsu style before. Have you? Kakashi shook his head, unable to speak. Guy's eyes narrowed as he noticed that Lee's wrappings had loosened. It seems this is getting serious. I shall stop them. Wait, Kakashi said as he motioned for Guy to hold steady. I want to see more. Lee could injure your student, Kakashi. We should stop this spar, Guy told him with a firm tone before he vanished. Wait, Guy! Kakashi shouted as he vanished after him. Hell, this fight has told me I have a long way to go, but I'm too invested to stop now, Naruto said with an excited tone. So give me your best shot, Rock Lee. With pleasure, Lee shouted before he dashed to Naruto, only for Guy to appear beside Lee only to deck him in the face, sending Lee skidding across the ground to the right. Bout finished. Naruto watched this with mouth agape. What? Naruto said as Kakashi flickered behind him. He got here just in time, Kakashi sighed. Naruto turned around sharply as he shouted, Kakashi-sensei? What are you doing here? I was watching with Lee's teacher. He felt it was too serious, so he decided to end this sparring session, Kakashi explained. I feel displeased with this, Naruto admitted. Don't be, you did very well considering Lee's your experience, Kakashi told him as he ruffled Naruto's head. Also, we need to have a talk regarding this Ansatsuken. Along with the clothes. Naruto bowed his head as Guy and Lee approached him and his sensei. Sorry, Naruto-kun. I got overzealous, Lee said with a pouting tone. Believe me, Lee, I wanted to go full tilt, Naruto replied with his own pout. So shall we fight again? Lee asked. Boy! Let's do it! Naruto exclaimed. Yash! Lee yelled. Oh no, you two don't, Guy said. No more youthful sparring today. But sir, Lee and I didn't go full tilt. How am I supposed to become better without knowing my absolute limits? Naruto said with puppy dog eyes. Guy-sensei, he was so fast and his skills with this unknown taijutsu had me on the edge of my seat. We can't leave it a draw, Lee added with his own puppy dog eyes. Now kids. There's always next time, Kakashi said. Besides, we have a mission tomorrow in Wave Naruto. As do we, Lee, and I need you fully rested for it, Guy added. All the two whined in unison. The pair then looked at one another before they both shared a grin. Would you like to be my best friend and eternal rival? Lee asked. You already read my mind because I want that too, Naruto exclaimed. Their grins grew wider before they gave one another a hard fist bump that seemed to cause a mini shockwave from the collision from their fists. Let's fight again one day, my eternal rival, they chorused out in unison. Kakashi and Guy exchanged amused glances. Ah, kids. It was early morning when Naruto awakened. Naruto knew that he had his first C-rank mission today, and while he was excited, he still remained in bed. Ever since he started this training, he has found himself more at peace with the world around him. He allowed himself to enjoy the sounds of the birds chirping, the wind blowing against the trees, and the faint sounds of children playing. It was nice to be able to just relax and enjoy the sounds of peace. Naruto rose out of bed and walked to his window and gazed out of it, a faint smile on his face. Yeah, it was going to be a good day. After getting dressed in the gold GI attire he had worn the day before during his spar with Lee, Naruto packed up the remaining GI and scroll within a ceiling scroll and jumped out of his window and down to the ground. Unfortunately for him, this stunt made him nearly fall on top of Hyuga Hinata. Hinata stumbled backward with a shocked yell and fell to the ground, which allowed Naruto to land in front of her. Whoops! Naruto exclaimed in surprise as offered Hinata a bright smile. Sorry about that, Hinata, Naruto apologized as he held out a hand to her. I really got to look before I leap, he added on. With a blush, Hinata placed her hand in his, and for a moment the word soft entered Naruto's head before he pulled her up carefully. It's okay, Hinata stammered out before she gazed up at him. Naruto always avoided looking at Hinata. Not because she freaked him out, but it was because of her eyes. They held so much warmth and care in them that every time they happened to exchange looks, he would always feel this weird feeling in his chest. I got something on my face, Hinata? Naruto questioned curiously, unaware of the rather charming smile on his face that caused Hinata's blush to deepen. No. Forgive me, Naruto-kun, I just was curious. Your clothes are different, and you look different, Hinata explained, trying to keep the stuttering to a minimum around him. Oh, I decided on a change recently. Figured I'd get rid of the orange for now and move my hyattite to my left bicep. Naruto paused as he motioned to his hyattite, which was tied snugly on his left arm. So I can grow my hair out more, Naruto finished with a wide grin. I think it looks wonderful on you, Hinata told him. Wow, thanks, Naruto said sincerely. You're the first person that's noticed my change. I noticed a lot. Hinata paused for a moment as if she was searching for what she wanted to say, and once she found it, she glanced back at Naruto and said, I noticed that you were trying a lot. You did? Naruto asked. Hinata nodded and proceeded to explain, I tend to go out on a run every morning, but 2 weeks ago, I noticed you training with a lot of clones. I've never seen that taijutsu style before. Rock said the same thing yesterday, Naruto said thoughtfully. I didn't think the Ansatsuken was such a rare taijutsu style. A Ansatsuken? Hinata questioned. Yeah. It means assassination fist, and it's damn powerful. I managed to fight Rock Lee to a near standstill yesterday, but I think he would have beat my ass if our spar wasn't stopped by Kakashi-sensei and Gai-san. I see, Hinata whispered. Actually, speaking of taijutsu, if I remember correctly, Iruka-sensei said that the Hyuga clan has a taijutsu as well. Juken, am I right? Naruto asked. Hinata nodded. Naruto stared at her until a light bulb went off in his head. Perfect. Well, hey, I have a mission, but when I come back, do you want to spar and maybe grab a bite after? My treat, the blonde suggested with a smile. Hinata's face was cherry red at this point, which had Naruto concerned until she smiled and nodded. Naruto's bright smile widened. Awesome. I've never fought a Hyuga before. This will be fun. Well, I got to go, but I'll come find you as soon as I come back. Hinata nodded. Awesome, see you later, Naruto said as he walked off, not seeing Hinata faint in the street. After 20 minutes of walking, Naruto approached Konoha's front gate where he found Sasuke and Sakura waiting there, with Kakashi nowhere to be seen. Hey guys, Naruto said as he lifted up his right hand in a lazy wave. Hey Naruto, Sakura said with a nod while Sasuke remained silent. Kakashi-sensei is running late per usual. Even on an escort mission, Sakura grumbled. But he wouldn't be our sensei without his chronic lateness, Naruto joked with a smile. Sakura shrugged, but then she turned her head to glance at him. What's with the outfit? She asked him curiously. Sasuke turned his head slightly to observe Naruto's change in clothes. Not bad, dope. At least it isn't that bright orange anymore. Yeah, it looks nice on you, but it's still not as cool as Sasuke-kun's outfit, Sakura said as she nodded in approval. Naruto gave a wry grin, but he let their comments go. This wasn't about looking good to anyone. This was all about what he felt was right, and with learning a new style with new skills, the clothes were just another step in changing things up. So while he waited, Naruto began to do a light warm-up, which consisted of jumping in place and stretching out his limbs. Once he was finished with that, he summoned a clone and began a light spar with it, which was primarily blocking and dodging its jabs and kicks. When Kakashi finally arrived, he arrived with Tazuna, who looked anxious. Alright team, let's head out, Kakashi said with a smile. Ino Yamanaka was as bored as could be. Shikamaru and Asuma were playing shogi and Choji was in the middle of pigging out. She needed a break from the monotony that had become her life. So she went for a jog. A nice afternoon jog was the best way to spice up her life filled with lazy and hungry men. But as she jogged past the training ground, she noticed something peculiar. There was a boy there. He was wearing a hideous green jumpsuit with ugly orange leg warmers and had fuzzy eyebrows and a bowl-cut hairstyle. He was sparring with a large clone of himself, except it had a Jonin vest on. But what interested her was the way the two moved. Each blow they landed on one another looked impactful, and the way they moved as if they were gliding on the grace impressed her greatly. She then wondered. Could she move that fast? Could she hit that hard? She then snorted. Obviously she could. She was Yamanaka Ino after all, and she could do anything that she wanted. Besides, from what she observed about Sasuke, he wanted to revive his clan and become strong, and what better way to do that than to get strong enough for him? With a determined grin, she walked onto the training ground and shouted, "Excuse me." The two shinobi kept on with their intense spar. Ino's eyes twitched, and she yelled out, "Excuse me." The younger ones had looked to the left at her briefly before he was kicked hard in the face, which sent him flying toward her. Just as she yelled out in alarm, the youth twisted his body, pushed himself off the ground, and made himself into a ball before he landed in a crouch. Ino turned around and shouted, "You could have hit me, you jerk." "Sorry about that, Kunoichi-chan. I'll make sure to be careful when Gai-sensei launches me," the youth said with a bright smile, his eyes twinkling slightly as he scratched the back of his neck. Ino frowned and looked away, ignoring the odd feeling in her chest at his smile. Too loud, Ino whined slightly as the larger green-wearing freak walked up to her. "Ah, hello Yamanaka-san," Gai said with a smile. "What are you doing in our neck of the woods?" "My team is being lazy oafs and I wanted to do something actually entertaining, so I happened to pass by," Ino explained. "You guys are very good at taijutsu. What style is that?" "Ah, it's Goken. That is the style Gai-sensei and I primarily use," the teen said enthusiastically. "Gai-sensei was training me to further my knowledge of the style." "I see. Can anyone learn this style?" Ino asked. "Goken is a very powerful style that not many could use without putting their body at risk," the man, Gai she assumed, said with a cross of his arms. "Lee and I are able to use it. For someone like you may not be able to our style, however I think there is a style that would suit you, but I would have to see how you fight." "Okay," Ino hesitantly drawled. "Very good. Lee and I are doing our pre-mission spar as we are leaving in an hour, but when we return in a few days' time, we would be happy to test your mettle and see what style your youthful spirit can use." "Great, I'll let Asuma-sensei know so he could be there to see," Ino said. "Ah, Asuma-kun is a very good sensei. It would be good to have his expertise regarding your skills." "Well, until then, Yamanaka-san," Gai announced with a salute. The older shinobi then motioned for Lee to follow. Lee nodded, gave a wide smile, and said, "I hope your youthfulness remains as bright as your beauty, Yamanaka-chan," and with those words, Lee ran off after him. "Ugh, I think I'm going to regret this," Ino whined, but curiously enough, there was a smile on her face. "It's so weird being so far outside of the village," Sakura said with wonder in her voice. Naruto opened and remained silent, but he couldn't help but agree with his pink-haired friend. It felt as if a whole new world was open to him now, and he was going to enjoy every second of it. Unfortunately, fate decided differently because it was then he felt some ill feelings coming from the puddle of water ahead. Naruto always had the ability to sense evil energy, and while he didn't know where it came from, he always used to keep away from those that meant him harm. Naruto quickly walked up to Kakashi, who was in the middle of a discussion with Tazuna, and asked, "Sensei, you see that puddle up ahead?" Kakashi looked up and saw the puddle and then looked to the sky before he glanced down at Naruto and asked, "Seems suspicious, doesn't it?" Naruto nodded. "Yeah, considering he hasn't rained at all." "Curious," Kakashi said. Naruto waited for Kakashi to say anything more, but after a minute of walking and getting closer to the puddle, Naruto realized that Kakashi had said all that he was going to say. Naruto walked backwards so he was in between Sasuke and Sakura and said, "I think something is going to happen." "What makes you say that, dope?" Sasuke questioned. "Well, notice that puddle that's coming up," Naruto asked. "What puddle?" Sakura asked as she looked around only to blush in embarrassment when Naruto pointed it out. "Oh, that one? Yeah, that's pretty strange that, considering it hasn't rained for days." "Right," Naruto replied. "And yet when I told Kakashi-sensei, he didn't listen to a word I said. All he said was curious, and then stayed quiet." Something bad may be coming from there, so we should be careful," Sasuke said. Fate would prove Naruto's gut feeling and Sasuke's words correct, because seconds after they passed the puddle, chains came out and wrapped around Kakashi. Sakura screamed in terror as two shinobi leaped out of the puddle, their chains extended. The pair landed on the ground with Kakashi in the middle of them, chains wrapped around his body. The one on the right had shoulder-length, smooth dark brown hair and dark eyes. He wore a rebreather that covered the lower half of his face and a large, clawed gauntlet on his right arm which had a chain coming out of it that had the other end attached to the other man's own gauntlet. He wore a blue camouflage suit with bandages around his waist, dark-colored, knee-length sandals, and a ragged black cape. His Kirigakyo forehead protector had a single horn on it. The second man had shoulder-length, wild dark brown hair and dark eyes. He also wore a rebreather that covered the lower half of his face and a large, clawed gauntlet on his left arm which had a chain coming out of it that connected to the chain on the other man's gauntlet. He wore a tan camouflage suit with bandages around his waist, dark-colored, knee-length sandals, and several pouches around his waist. His Kirigakyo forehead protector had 2 horns on it. With dark, wild eyes, the two then pulled on their chain and ripped Kakashi to shreds. "Sensei!" Sakura screamed in terror as Naruto and Sasuke looked on in shock. "One down, Meizu," the wild-haired man said with a smirk. "4 more to go, Gozu," the smooth-haired man responded before the duo charged forward. "Sasuke, go for the left one, I'll go for the right. Sakura-chan, protect Tazuna," Naruto said as he rushed to Meizu, who immediately swung his right gauntlet towards Naruto when the shinobi got close. Naruto leaped over the gauntlet and shouted, "Tornado!" Naruto spun his body and landed a hard right kick to Meizu's face, which caused him to skid back. Naruto then spun his body 2 more rotations in order to nail 2 more kicks to Meizu's face before he turned his body 1 more time and delivered a brutal blow to the side of Meizu's head, which sent the shinobi sailing into a tree. Naruto landed on the ground and dashed towards Meizu, who was rising from his position, and took him off his feet with a hard tackle against the tree so Meizu was laid against it as Naruto delivered several hard jabs to the man's face, each blow cracking his rebreather before the final blow shattered it, leaving the man's face bloody. Meizu kicked Naruto off of him, rose to his feet and swung his gauntlet twice towards Naruto, but Naruto swayed to the left to avoid the first lunge and then ducked the second one before placing his back to Meizu's chest, grabbed his arm and hoisted him off his feet and down onto his back hard before he landed a hard, nearly chakra-infused left jab to Meizu's neck, which caused him to choke out in pain as his windpipe was crushed from the blow. He reached out to grasp Naruto's face before his arm fell to the ground. Naruto stared at the man's glassy eyes and felt both revulsion and shock hit his stomach as he raised his fist from the man's neck. It had happened so fast he couldn't stop it. "Brother!" Gozu's voice shouted in horror, which caused Naruto to turn to the voice, and there he saw Sasuke, with his Uchiha-styled version of the windmill shuriken, which scraped against Gozu's gauntlet. Gozu kicked Sasuke away and charged towards Naruto with an enraged "I'm going to kill you!" But seconds later Kakashi appeared before him and delivered a brutal clothesline, which sent Gozu to the ground. "Wow, I was not expecting that," Kakashi's voice said as he looked back at Naruto. Unable to hold it back, Naruto vomited as hard as he could. "Naruto, are you okay?" Sasuke asked with concern. "Naruto, answer us, will you?" Sakura followed up as she shook his shoulder. Naruto couldn't respond. All he could do was stare in horror as he stared at the deceased body of Meizu. Naruto understood that it was either Meizu's life or his and potentially his teammates', but he couldn't fathom it. He had killed. He took his life. The voices of his teammates faded into the background as he focused on Kakashi, who held the thrashing and screaming Gozu in the distance. "Tell me what you know," Kakashi asked. "Meizu! Meizu!" Gozu tearfully screamed, each shout of the man's name burying itself into Naruto's heart. "Brother, please get up." He had done this. He had robbed this man of his family. The only family he may have had left. The screams then stopped as Kakashi plunged the kunai into the man's forehead. The man's head slumped down. Why? Why did Kakashi kill him? He had already taken so much from the man? Why did he have to take his life as well? Naruto wanted to yell and scream at Kakashi, but he couldn't. He was so drained of energy. Kakashi pulled the kunai out and removed the gauntlet from Gozu, along with his head, before doing the same to Meizu's head and gauntlet, and sealed them into his scroll. And it was then Naruto snapped. Why? Naruto yelled as he rushed Kakashi, who turned his head curiously at Naruto. Naruto leaped into the air and tried to perform a flying kick at Kakashi, but the shinobi moved to the left to avoid it. Naruto skidded against the ground on the heels of his feet, then charged forward and threw out wild and reckless jabs, but Kakashi avoided each one. I already killed his brother. You didn't have to kill him too and then collect their weapons and heads as trophies. Naruto railed as he attempted a roundhouse kick, which Kakashi leaned back from. Tears blurred his vision as he continued to try and hit Kakashi, who showed nothing but sadness and compassion in his eye. Finally, Naruto tripped on a stone and remained on the ground before he curled up and began to sob. "Why?" Naruto gasped out. It was then he felt arms embrace him, and without hesitation, he gripped onto Kakashi's flak jacket and cried. "It's okay, Naruto," Kakashi whispered. "I understand, let it out, it'll be okay." So the demon brothers met their ends. Pity. Haku knelt before her master with a bowed head. She had just returned from observing their target's movements, and was taken aback by the skill of the blonde-haired shinobi, and the way he swiftly dismantled Meizu. To think, one of them was dispatched by a runt. How fast was it? Her master questioned. He was faster than expected. To be able to take down Meizu as if he was moving in slow motion. It was quick, brutal, and near efficient, Haku explained softly. Haku left out the part of the blonde's breakdown from the gravity of what he had done. Would she have reacted the same way if she took a life? She was unsure, but it admittedly worried her. And you say Hatake Kakashi was their sensei, right? The imposing figure questioned. Haku nodded. He seemed lazy to me, but it is something about his laziness that is imposing. It's as if he knows he is unable to be touched, she explained. To be expected, he is the famed copycat shinobi, her master chuckled darkly. And his head would look marvelous beneath my feet. Where are they now? They are a day's travel away from Wave, Haku answered. Good, that is where I will strike, her master told her. Get my weapon nice and sharp for tomorrow. I wage war and complete this contract. Haku nodded. While she knew Kakashi would be more than a threat to her master, she also wondered if the blonde would be able to withstand the might of him as well. She didn't know why, but she could not wait to see the results of this battle. Nightfall had blanketed the world as Team 7 sat around the campfire. After their battle with the Demon Brothers and Naruto's subsequent breakdown 3 days ago, Tazuna had explained to Team 7, except for Naruto due to him being in a trance-like state at the time, the true reason for his mission. After brief deliberations, the team had decided to continue on with their newly minted A-ranked mission, but Sakura had noticed that her blonde teammate had been as quiet as the dead. And she could hardly blame him. He had taken a life. Admittedly, she was stunned that it was Naruto and not her dear Sasuke-kun who had landed a fatal blow on their opponent. Seeing the normally happy and carefree teammate of hers look so hurt was upsetting. She glanced at his eyes and nothing but an endless ocean of sorrow within them. It made her heart cry out for him, but while her heart cried, she outwardly only stared at him. Alright team, who will take the first watch? Kakashi questioned. I will, Naruto answered softly. Sakura watched as Kakashi shook his head. Naruto. You've taken watches for the past few nights. You need your rest. Hey, I can do it, Naruto responded softly. Not like I could sleep anyways. Sakura's eyes softened as the shinobi across from her lowered his head. Kakashi sighed. Very well, you can take the first watch, but you will be going to sleep after that. No more offering to take Sasuke and Sakura's watches. Understood? Naruto nodded. Sakura, you take second watch and Sasuke will take third. I will round out the last 4 hours until sunrise. Got it? Kakashi asked. Sakura and Sasuke nodded, and soon, Kakashi and Sasuke departed to their tents, but Sakura couldn't. Instead, she watched as Naruto sat there in front of the fire. Sakura frowned to herself, walked up to Naruto, and said on second thought, why don't I take the first watch tonight? No, that's alright, Sakura-chan, Naruto lifelessly told her. I can watch. Sakura sighed. Look, Naruto, I know I treat you pretty poorly 100% of the time, but seeing you like this is torture. You're the dumb, excitable baka that brightens the day of everyone. This isn't you. Naruto gazed out at the fire, but Sakura could see a tear fall down his eyes. I never a family, you know? They died during the Kyuubi attack, but I always wondered what it would have been like to have a mom, a dad, a brother or sister. Sakura remained silent. I never had that, so I don't know what it's like to lose it, but hearing Gozu scream for his brother even as Kakashi-sensei killed him, it haunts me, Naruto whimpered as he clutched the spot above his heart, the tears flowing more. Sakura let out a breath. She knew Naruto was an orphan, but she hadn't realized that later when Naruto took Meizu's life. Sakura felt even worse at how she callously made fun of Naruto's parentless life nearly 2 months ago at the academy. "I didn't mean to try and kill him, I really didn't," Naruto gasped out. "It all happened so fast. My body moved before my mind could catch up. I know he was an enemy, and I know that he was trying to kill me, but I..." Naruto finally broke down and began to cry. "And no matter how hard I try, no matter how much Kakashi-sensei tells me I did the right thing, I feel like the demon the villagers always call me." "Oh, Naruto," Sakura whispered as tears finally sprang from the girl's eyes. Ever since she was a little girl, her parents stressed to her that Naruto was never to be trusted due to him being an emotionless demon in disguise. While she had never believed he was an emotionless demon, she did follow her parents' orders because of the mistrust they instilled in her. But instead of staying away from him, she demeaned and abused him day in and day out. She knew he had a crush on her. She knew from the rare glimpses at him that he was always alone, and she definitely knew about him being an orphan. But it was at this moment that it all clicked for her. To seeing him crying his soul out for the men that had tried to kill them spoke more about who Naruto was as a person than anything she had ever heard. All the talks of mistrust her parents had drilled into her head slowly melted away as Sakura knelt beside him and wrapped her arms around his head, pressing it close to her head as he wept into her chest. She had always envisioned this moment between her and Sasuke when he finally let her into his heart for once. She didn't mind this reality compared to her rosy fantasies of her crush. All that mattered was being the shoulder that Naruto needed to cry on. Even just for a little while. It was eerily quiet the following morning after Naruto had his breakdown. Admittedly, he was embarrassed that Sakura had seen him like that, but he was appreciative of her being there for him, but it was her being with him then that made him realize something. As much as he liked Sakura, he realized that her consoling him was so much different than how she normally treated him, and oddly enough, that crush that harbored had faded away. He had been drifting from that crush already, but when she acknowledged him hurting, it was gone and replaced by a sincere feeling of friendship. Was it that he only sought out her attention instead of actually being in love with her? Naruto didn't know, but he decided to just wait and see where this took him. Where one day out from the village, Tazuna nervously said to the group as he walked ahead of the group with Kakashi beside him. "After that, you guys can stay at my home during your time there." "That is very kind of you, Tazuna-san." "Thank you," Kakashi replied with a genuine tone. "It would be nice to sleep in bed again after sleeping on the ground for the last 4 days, Sakura said with a stretch. Sasuke merely added. Naruto remained silent. He didn't know why, but he felt a faint malicious feeling in the air as the fog began to settle in around them. "Naruto-kun?" Sakura's voice questioned, which caused Naruto to blink and look at his pink-haired teammate. "How are you feeling?" Sakura asked softly, her emerald eyes shining with concern. "I feel a little better about it all," Naruto replied truthfully with a weak smile. "I just hope I stop having nightmares about it soon." "I hope so too. If you ever need to talk to someone, I'm here," Sakura told him with a small smile. "Thank you," Naruto replied, but it was then he felt that malicious feeling again. This time, however, the feeling was thicker, just like the mist that had now surrounded them. "Something isn't right," Naruto told her. "I feel something wrong around us, like danger." "Danger?" Sasuke questioned from behind Sakura. Naruto nodded. "Think we should tell Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura asked. "If the dope can sense it, Kakashi-sensei should," Sasuke admonished, which made both Naruto and Sakura shrug in unison. He did have a point. It was then the trio heard something from the left of them, and without hesitation, Sasuke launched a kunai at the area where the sound came from. Kakashi and Tazuna stopped and looked back at the group. "What is going on back there?" Kakashi questioned. It was then a brown bunny hopped out of the bushes, which caused the genin to face fall to the ground. "A bunny? You threw a kunai at a bunny?" Sakura admonished the Uchiha once they got to their feet instantaneously as the bunny hopped to her. She knelt down to pet it, but to their surprise, the bunny nuzzled its head into her palm. Kakashi narrowed his eye. "Something isn't right about that bunny," he muttered. It was then Naruto felt that malicious energy double, but this time, he could sense where it was. "Guys! That feeling is coming from in front of us!" Naruto exclaimed. It was then the sound of metal slicing through the air was heard. "Get down!" Kakashi ordered as he tackled Tazuna to the ground. The genin followed his orders and all three of them hit the deck just as a large blade flew over their heads and into the tree behind them where it stuck. 8 points, a malevolent voice stated through this mist. Naruto lifted his head and it was there he saw the back of a tall and noticeably muscular man with light grayish skin, short spiky black hair. The man was shirtless from what Naruto could tell at the angle but due to the large sword strapped to his back. The man also had baggy pants with a striped pattern, a pair of mimetic wrist warmers extending up to his elbows with matching leg warmers, and shinobi sandals. And he stood on his large, imposing blade. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, coronary artery, kidneys, and heart. Now, which one will be my attack point? The man questioned as he turned his head just enough for Naruto to see the wrappings around the bottom half of his face and his dark brown eye, which gleamed with darkness. Naruto looked and saw Sakura, Tazuna, and surprisingly Sasuke trembling in absolute terror, and while Naruto was apprehensive, he wasn't petrified in fear like them. He had already experienced a life-or-death battle. He had, unfortunately, taken his first life. There was no reason to be afraid anymore. Momochi Zabuza, Kakashi announced as he appeared before the group with floating leaves around him, his high lifted up to reveal the 3 Tomoe of the Uchiha bloodline. The Kirigakyu no Kijin, this is far more serious than I anticipated. Zabuza chuckled and leaped down from his blade. It seems out of the bunch of you, only 2 remain calm and unflinching. It is no wonder that demon brothers were killed, the man said as he turned around fully. You must have trained him well, Sharingan no Kakashi. Calm down, Kakashi said as he glanced back to Sakura and Sasuke. I'll protect you all with my life, I won't let my team die. Kakashi then turned back and Naruto could see the smile behind his mask. Trust me, he added. I wouldn't be so sure, the man said before he suddenly flickered into mist and appeared in between Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke and in front of Tazuna. Theme of bout, Zabuza the Great Sign from Shin Megami Tensei. Without hesitation, Naruto twisted his body and aimed a punch at Zabuza's face, but Zabuza lifted up the flat end of the Kubikiri Hocho to block the blow but was impressed when he felt himself skid slightly from the blow. Such malice with that punch, Gaki Zabuza noted before he pushed the blade forward to knock Naruto off balance. Before he could follow up, however, Kakashi shouted, "Dynamic entry!" and delivered a hard flying kick to Zabuza's face, which caused him to fly above Tazuna's head from above. Zabuza recovered and landed on his feet as Kakashi withdrew 4 kunai and launched them each at Zabuza. Zabuza easily deflected each one with his blade, where he then stabbed the weapon into the ground and formed dozens of hand seals before he shouted Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu. Behind him, a large pillar of water rose up and took the form of a dragon and rushed towards Kakashi, who had just finished his own seals, and shouted Katon, Hiryu no Jutsu. With a deep breath, Kakashi blew forth a large fire dragon, which collided with Zabuza's attack, which cancelled out both techniques and added to the thick mist. Kakashi flared his chakra to lessen the mist, which allowed him to see as Zabuza appeared behind him, his Kubikiri Hocho in mid-swing. Kakashi pulled out 2 kunai and turned around to block it, and successfully managed it, but the strength of the blow sent him to one knee. Zabuza pushed down on his blade and managed to get the blade to the right shoulder of Kakashi, but without warning, a shout of tornado caused Zabuza to turn around into a brutal right kick from Naruto's right foot. Zabuza tilted off balance as Naruto spun his body and delivered another kick, this time aimed at his jugular. Then with another twist, the third blow collided with Zabuza's forehead before Naruto delivered the final blow to the middle of Zabuza's face, which sent Zabuza skidding backward from the blow while Naruto used his face as a springboard to push himself away. The moment Naruto was out of frame, Kakashi was before him and managed to stab him in the gut with the kunai, but managed to catch Kakashi's other wrist before the other kunai pierced his head. Zabuza pushed Kakashi's head away and delivered a sickening headbutt to Kakashi, which stunned the masked shinobi enough for Zabuza to lift up his right foot and boot him in the chest, which sent Kakashi skidding backward away from him. Naruto suddenly ran past Kakashi and dashed towards Zabuza as he created 9 clones, with 5 of them leaping towards Zabuza while Naruto and the remaining 4 clones remained running. Zabuza avoided the first clone, who had attempted a flying kick, and cleaved its head off with his blade, which dispersed it into smoke. Through that smoke, he grabbed the second clone's fist, pulled the clone by the fist, and delivered a clothesline, which caused the clone to disperse into smoke. Go! Naruto shouted to the remaining 5, who dashed forward. One by one, Zabuza exterminated the clones with various amount of swings, each one causing the smoke around him to increase, but as he swung upwards to nail the last clone, Naruto skidded in front of Zabuza on his knees and shouted Shoryuken. Naruto delivered a rising uppercut with both arms extended, which carried Zabuza into the air as he was punched repeatedly before Kakashi jumped into the air, and together, the pair delivered a hard punch to Zabuza's face, which sent the shinobi to the ground but nearer to the water. Zabuza flipped to his feet and felt blood drip down his nose. Broken. With a grunt, Zabuza pulled out the kunai, tossed it to the ground, formed 7 hand seals, held out his right hand, and said, Suetun, Suryustasu, water release, water flowing lance. From the lake behind him, water flowed into Zabuza's hand and took the shape of a lance, where he then launched it towards Kakashi. Kakashi shook off his stunned state and formed 4 hand seals, then slammed his hands to the ground and shouted Doton, Doryahiki. A wall of earth shot out in front of Kakashi, and shielded him from the attack. Kakashi then formed another set of hand seals, smacked the wall directly, and shouted Doton, Doskiryu. From the wall, a large brown and gray dragon came to life and flew towards Zabuza, who smirked and picked up his blade and cleaved the dragon in half with a mighty swing, which caused its separated forms to disintegrate around him. But the moment he cleared the dragon, Kakashi was gone. Seconds later, the ground exploded from beneath him, revealing Kakashi, who delivered an uppercut to Zabuza's chin, which sent him into the air. Naruto and a clone then ran up and leaped off of Kakashi's shoulders and flew above Zabuza's form, and together, the duo cupped their hands at their right sides and where energy began to form. Hadouken! The original and the clone shouted as they both lunged their hands forward, which caused a small wave of energy to collide with Zabuza's face, which sent the shinobi soaring down to the ground. Zabuza bounced off the ground and remained in the air, only for Kakashi to jump into the air and shout, Konoha Senpo, and delivered a hard roundhouse kick to Zabuza's left side, which sent Zabuza sailing through a tree upon impact, where he then fell and skipped across the water, where he managed to catch himself and remain kneeling, his body trembling. Naruto landed on the ground and rose up, and Kakashi couldn't help but be impressed at this harmonious teamwork. He had only experienced this once with. Kakashi shook his head. Naruto, I expected a lot of things, but first, you took your first kill and now you jumping into this battle between Jonin. It's dangerous, but I am very impressed, Kakashi commented, unable to keep the pride from his voice. Hey, if there's an opening to help when you're caught flat-footed, I'll capitalize. I know that alone I can't beat this. Hell, even the speed he had to get to Tazuna, Sakura, Sasuke, and myself outranked me, but if we keep him on his toes I think we can win, Naruto replied with a grin. Kakashi chuckled at this, and said, I think I have it handled thanks to your assistance, Naruto. You may want to stick your teammates and protect Zabuza. Naruto nodded and ran off. Kakashi watched him leave and thought that Uzumaki Naruto, it was fairly smart, but I can't let him die, not him. Kakashi then narrowed his eyes at Zabuza, who had now stood up, albeit on shaky legs, before he fell to one knee against the water, his bandages now dripping with his own blood. I won't let you or that brat get the better of me, Zabuza shouted as he began to form 17 hand seals. Kakashi walked out into the water, and he began to copy Zabuza's hand seals, his Sharingan spinning wildly as he copied this move. You're copying me like a damn monkey, Zabuza shouted, but then he saw it. Behind Kakashi, he saw an image of himself behind him, and it stopped him in his tracks while Kakashi finished the final seal and said, this was easier than I thought. Suetun, Daibakufa no Jutsu. A ring of water formed in front of Kakashi before a large vortex of water flew toward him. The attack collided with Zabuza's body and sent him crashing into a tree where the water tore away at him. When the attack was done, he slumped down against the tree, battered and wounded but still alive. Bout end. Haku was stunned at what she had witnessed. She expected Zabuza to finish the battle, but this was unexpected. He had lost. There was a chance that he could have been injured, but to have been defeated like this. It rocked her, but it wasn't due to Kakashi. No, the blonde. Throughout the battle, she watched him place himself in situations where if Kakashi was off guard, he would fill the space in order for Kakashi to regain his footing. It was smart. It's over, Zabuza, she heard Kakashi say as he approached her master, and with eagle eyes, she saw Zabuza weakly give the signal. And so with a precise aim, she launched her Saban, and watched his head slump. With a splash of water, she appeared beside Zabuza and said, You are right. It was over. I have been hunting him for some time, thank you and your student for the opportunity. Ma, it's no problem, Hunter-san, Kakashi waved off, but there was something in his eyes that made her question if he had believed her ploy. She picked up her master's body and said farewell, but before she did, her eyes glanced at the blonde running up from behind with his teammates, and with a swirl of water, she was gone. But one thing rang true to her. The blonde's name was Naruto. She would remember that name. And she would see him again. It had been 3 days since the battle Naruto and Kakashi had with Zabuza, and Team 7 was now at Tazuna's home in Wave. When the team first arrived, Naruto was aghast at the sight of the village. It looked so rundown and ravaged, but what truly broke his heart was to see people look so beaten down. So while Kakashi was down and out from their battle with Zabuza, Naruto summoned several clones to fish at the river while he summoned more clones to assist both himself and Tazuna with the bridge. Naruto, these clones have been a kamisend, Tazuna said with a wide smile. As have you. You didn't have to do this, but the work is very appreciative. Naruto sat down the pickaxe and wiped the sweat off his brow. His upper GI now hung around his waist to reveal his slightly defined muscular upper body, but there were a faint amount of scars on his skin as well. He had long since taken off his black shirt, which hung on the railing of the bridge, to let it air out due to the amount of sweat that soaked it. Naruto offered a small grin and said, "Anytime, old man. Anything to help bring some hope back to this place." Tazuna's smile dimmed slightly as his gaze turned serious. "This village is a sad sight, isn't it?" he questioned. "It is," Naruto admitted softly. "But that's only temporary. Once we finish this bridge and hopefully stop this Gato asshole, then this place will look better than ever, and I will make sure of it." Tazuna eyed him for a moment. "Tell me something, kid. For the last 3 days, you've been here helping us. I know that the original mission was to watch over me, so why help us like this?" Naruto sat down on some cement blocks and sighed a bit. "The minute I walked to this village, I could see how defeated everyone looks. I just want to make the people here smile again, and if building this bridge and stopping that Gato jerk is the way to do it, then damn it, I'll do it." Tazuna's eyes softened at Naruto's words. "Those words, it is eerie to hear them," Tazuna noted. Naruto looked at Tazuna and asked, "What do you mean?" Tazuna shook his head and said, "That's for another time, kiddo. Go take a break, you've earned it." Naruto watched Tazuna walk off with a frown on his face. There was something in the older man's eyes that spoke of a hidden sadness, but Naruto decided that when the man was ready, he would tell him. Naruto stood up and stretched out before his stomach growled loud enough for some of the construction workers to turn and look at him in confusion. He gave a wide grin before he felt someone watching him. He turned his head to the far left, and in the distance, his eyes caught a long, black-haired girl observing him. He had noticed her a few times out of the corner of his eyes ever since he arrived. At first, he thought it was just a girl who had a relative here, but after spotting her in places where it was just him, he realized she was watching him. But any time he would approach her, she would disappear from him. But why watch him? "Hey, Naruto!" Sakura's voice yelled, which prompted him to turn around briefly to acknowledge the girl with a smile, but when glanced back, the girl was gone once again. He would find out who she was one day. "Hey, Kakashi-sensei wants to meet with us," Sakura said with a smile. Naruto nodded, flagged over a clone of his, and said, "Tell the old man that I'm going to meet with my sensei. I'll be back to help soon." "Gotcha, boss," the clone said with a salute, which made Naruto smile before the clone ran off. "It's so weird that you speak to your clones like that," Sakura commented. "Like what?" Naruto asked. "Like they're real people and you're their boss," Sakura said. "Yeah, I thought so too, but after a while, you get used to it," Naruto said with a smile as the two began to walk away. "Here are my 3 baby chicks," Kakashi teased as Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stood before him as he rested in bed, his chakra exhaustion still weighing heavily on him. "Thank you for joining me today out of your busy schedules," he added dryly. "The only one busy was Dope on that bridge, wasting time as usual," Sasuke replied with a cold tone in his voice. Kakashi sighed. He had noticed it just before he had passed out from chakra exhaustion, but he had hoped he had imagined the angered look on Sasuke's face. It was obvious to him that Sasuke needed the power to kill his older brother, and to see Naruto, who was admittedly weaker than Sasuke, take his first kill and then stand his ground against Zabuza must have been a heavy dose of jealousy that was shot into the young Uchiha. He would need to find a way to curb that. "Be nice, Sasuke-kun," Sakura admonished with a frown. "Naruto is only helping the villagers here, you see their circumstances." If there was one thing Kakashi was proud of, it was Sakura's attitude change when it came to Naruto. Kakashi had noticed that Naruto was going down that spiral that many new shinobi went through after their first kill, but before he could talk to him, Sakura had done so, and it seemed to change them both for the better. Sasuke hummed in response but remained silent. "Anyways, the reason I gathered you 3 here is because of a simple reason, and that is to talk about Zabuza and what to do when we see him again," Kakashi told them, which stunned the trio of genin. "Zabuza, isn't he dead?" Sakura questioned. "Yeah, we saw that hunter Nin kill him," Sasuke said. Naruto nodded in agreement. That we did except for two things, Kakashi began. 1. The weapon that the hunter nin used was saban. They are mostly used to incapacitate and not kill, and 2. When a hunter nin slays their target, they are to remove the head and place it in a scroll, then burn the remains. Afterward, they would then take the sealed head back to their village. Yeah, that's what you did after the demon brothers, Sasuke said. Naruto flinched at the memory, which caused Kakashi to give an apologetic smile to Naruto. Exactly, this hunter nin used a weapon that could not kill and took the body instead of slicing off the head and burning the remains, which means that Zabuza is alive and he has an accomplice, so we all must remain on guard, Kakashi said. The genin nodded. Now, since I am still very weak, Naruto, mind summoning some clones for me? I want to teach you guys a few things. Night had fallen in the village of Wave and Naruto sat on the ground with a disgruntled look on his face. After revealing that Zabuza was alive and had a partner, Kakashi showed Naruto and his teammates how to tree walk. Sakura managed to get the tree walking exercise down on the first try, but Kakashi made her continue to increase her reserves while Naruto and Sasuke struggled with it for the majority of the day. It was so bad that Sasuke had to ask for advice from Sakura to figure out how to do it, but after a while, Naruto was the only one left in the forest to try to get this tree walking done and learn, but similar to the Hadouken, he was unable to focus enough to get it right. Naruto sat on the ground with an annoyed expression on his face. What in the world was wrong with him? Perhaps mediation was in order? Naruto grimaced a bit at the thought. He had meditated earlier to try and clear his head when he started the blasted tree walking exercise. Maybe he just needed a break. With a sigh, Naruto leaned back on the tree, glanced at the stars above, and soon found himself dozing off. 20 minutes passed when he heard a gentle voice murmuring to his ear, "Excuse me, you're sitting on the herbs I need." Naruto's eyes opened in alarm, and looking back at him were the warmest, kindest brown eyes he had ever seen in his entire life. "Oh," Naruto stammered before he swallowed nervously. "Sorry," he apologized as he stood up. The girl let out a small smile, her pale cheeks flushing red as she looked away. Naruto was entranced by the sight. "That is quite all right. I felt so bad to disturb you, but I really needed them," the girl explained softly before she gazed at him, her cheeks reddening. "Your eyes, they are beautiful up close. I was unaware of this." "Up close?" Naruto questioned. It was then he took a good look at her. She had long black hair and pale skin with a dark-colored choker around her neck. She wore a pink, sleeveless kimono, with pale red edges and decorated with small plum-colored swirls that went to her ankles. Around her waist was a simple white obi tied in a bow, and she wore a pair of light brown sandals with dark straps. "I've been watching since you arrived here," the girl admitted. "Ah. So you're the spy," Naruto teased with shining blue eyes. "I didn't realize I had such a beautiful one too." Haki giggled softly with a smile that made Naruto's heart flutter. "I am flattered." "Truly," she sweetly replied. "So why were you following me?" Naruto asked her. "I had never seen someone like you before and I wanted to get a closer look, but," she paused as she glanced down at the ground, embarrassed. "I was a little hesitant because I didn't know what to say, so I would leave." "Ah, okay," Naruto said with a nod. "Well, here I am, all ready for you to get a good look at," Naruto told her as he spread out his arms with an inviting smile. "So now that you've got me, you said you were collecting herbs?" The girl nodded. "Great. I was taking a break from training. If you'd like, I can help you find the plants that you want." "Would you?" she asked, seemingly not expecting the help. "Of course. That's what a shinobi does. They help those in need, and for me, if that brings a smile to your face, it makes me feel that I'm doing something right," Naruto told her. The girl flushed again but nodded and replied, "Then Shinobi-san, I will request your assistance in finding some herbs." "Great. But call me Naruto. That's my name after all," Naruto said as he held out a hand. "My name is Haku and it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance," Haku replied as she placed her hand in his. Her hand was so soft compared to his own. The two exchanged a glance before they looked away, their cheeks red. "Well, let's look for those herbs, yeah?" Naruto suggested. Haku nodded, and for the next hour, Haku led Naruto around the forest to collect the plants she needed. "So tell me about yourself, Haku," Naruto said as he held up an herb for her to inspect. She nodded with a smile, which Naruto returned as he placed the herb in her basket. "There is not much to tell," Haku admitted. "I lived in this village for a few years now, helping as much as I can, bringing medicine to those who need it, but before, I used to be a flower girl." That's very nice of you, Naruto told her. I'm sure with that asshole Gato and his goons roaming about, they aren't making life easier for anyone. Haku replied with a distant tone before she asked in a stronger voice, you said you were a shinobi, right? I'm a shinobi of Konoha, Naruto replied as he placed another herb in the basket. That must be an interesting life, Haku said to him. Nah, it's mostly D ranks like saving cats from trees or yard work or some other boring thing, Naruto said. Admittedly, it's nothing like I thought it would be. What did you think it would be? Haku asked as she placed an herb in the basket. Naruto paused for a moment. Well, I thought it would be high-paced and exciting missions like saving princesses, fighting supervillains, and eventually, gaining the respect of those who shunned me for so long, being a hero to the world instead. It was just chores, Naruto answered before he drifted off into thought. I hated it for so long and each meaningless task was pissing me off, but then I met someone. I was on a mission to capture a hellion of a cat, Naruto began. I was being lazy about it because 1, I was so sick and tired of these missions, and 2, I hated that cat. Haku giggled. But during that search, I found a cabin with an old man in there. He was dying and I tried to help him, but he refused it, and so I stayed. I couldn't leave him alone to die. Naruto felt tears begin to build in his eyes at the memory. He was the first one to ever really acknowledge me. Everyone in my village, besides 4 to 5 people, hates me for something I never deserved, but he saw me for me. He looked away from Haku and glanced at the sky. He was so grateful that I stayed with him when he died that he gave me his most prized possession, something I still don't feel I deserve, and I told him as such. Do you know what he said in response? He said that I had a good heart, and it was a heart that he could trust, and he thanked me for being with him on his last day, and he died with a smile. Naruto felt tears fall down his eyes after recounting the story, but when he felt a hand grasp his, he looked to see the sad expression on Haku's face. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you sad, Naruto said. I'm sad that it hurts you, Naruto-san, Haku responded softly. But it shouldn't, because of him, the outlook I had on these missions changed. I realized that each mission is important to the ones that grant it. Even something as simple as walking a dog, while it annoys me, could mean the world to that person, and so because of that, I realized that bringing a smile to the faces of those I help makes it worth it. Haku stared at him for a long time before a gentle smile formed on her face. That is amazing how you put that, she told him. Naruto was distracted by the smile and barely caught what she had said, so when he did, he blushed sheepishly. Well, don't tell anyone else. They'd think I've gotten soft. The two laughed before Naruto's stomach growled. Whoops, I should go get something to eat. I think Tsunami-san said dinner would be around this time. Oh, then I should get going, Haku said. Hey, why don't you join me? Naruto suggested. I kind of like talking to you and I don't want to stop that yet. Oh, Haku said, clearly flattered by his invite. I couldn't tonight. I must get these herbs back. Oh, okay, Naruto said with a hint of disappointment. But how about tomorrow? Haku quickly suggested. I find myself not wanting to not talk to you either. Naruto grinned. Alright, meet me back here tomorrow. Haku nodded, and even though he departed, Naruto felt as if he was floating on air. He had made a new friend. Haku watched him again. She couldn't stop. It had been 2 days since she conversed with him in the forest. She was unable to meet him yesterday to have dinner, but she made sure to finish her herb gathering for Zabuza so she could continue her mission of espionage on Naruto and have dinner with him and his team. From her spying on him, Haku knew that Naruto would be on bridge duty for the rest of this week, and so there she stood, at the far end, watching him work, with a picnic basket in her arms. She knew they had plans for dinner tonight, but she thought to smooth over her absence yesterday. She took a deep breath. She had no idea why she was so nervous. It was an enemy shinobi, and she made a mission. She had to remember that. So she watched him from a distance as he made his way to the bridge, observing how he interacted with the various villages. She noted how he would always pause and help anyone that he could, and noted that every time he continued on his way, there would be a smile on their faces. All of her life, she had seen the horror that being a shinobi could do, and yet Naruto went out of his way to make people happy. It was then that his previous words floated back into her mind. I realize that each mission is important to the ones that grant it. Even something as simple as walking a dog, while it annoys me, could mean the world to that person, and so because of that, I realize that bringing a smile to the faces of those I help makes it worth it. Could it be possible that he meant those words? As an old lady embraced Naruto, a female scream was heard nearby, which caused the duo to separate out of alarm, but that scream was quickly replaced with a groan of pain. Naruto narrowed his eyes and darted off from the old woman. Haku frowned and ran off after him until she came upon a rundown house, and without hesitation, Naruto kicked the door down and went inside. Haku crept up to the wall beside the building Naruto had entered, and when she peeked inside, she was treated to a sight that made her horrified. There were 3 men, all holding katanas, as a single woman lay on the ground, her hands pressed against her stomach, her clothes ripped off. Haku easily recognized these men as Gado's men, and it sickened her to her core to see them around this woman. "Help me," she whimpered out in pain as 2 of the 3 men stepped in front of her. "Looks like we weren't quick enough to shut her ass up," one of the men, a short-haired redhead, said as he placed his katana on his shoulder and placed his foot on the woman's tearful face. "Unfortunately for you 2 brats, you caught us at a busy time, so Blondie, beat it before we kill you." "But the girl," the second man said as his green eyes leered at her. "She can stay and entertain us if this whore won't." But if Haku was horrified, there was an eerie look on Naruto's face. There was nothing on his face. It was as if all the smiles and grins he had given to those villagers before were gone, revealing nothing. "One chance," Naruto warned. "Leave this place." The trio looked at one another before they let out a raucous laugh. "Look at the shorty over here. Making demands and shit," the third man, a brunette with a scar on his left cheek, said with a sneer. "This bitch acted like she's too good to put out. We only showed her." The man was brutally interrupted when Naruto's fist collided with his throat. The man fell to his knees, gasping for air as the 2 men shouted, "Guldo! You're dead, kid!" The green-eyed man screamed as he ran forward to swing his blade, but Naruto ducked it and grabbed the extended arm, only delivering a hard uppercut to the arm. Haku winced as she heard the snap in his arms as the arm bent in the opposite direction. The man screamed before Naruto jabbed his right elbow into the man's face, breaking his nose, only for Naruto to grab his hair, lift him off his feet, and slam him down on the brunette, who was still gasping for air. "Berter! Why yo!" The silver-haired man barely got the word out before Naruto leaped up and delivered a hard roundhouse kick to the man's left temple, which sent him sailing to the left, where his head crashed into the support beam of the house. Haku then watched as the man slumped down, and there he remained. Haku was surprised by the suddenness of the brutality of his attacks. She also noticed there was a slight difference. His moves were a little more crisp than when he fought Zabuza, and he seemed less afraid of fighting them. Haku expected Naruto to freak out as the gurgling from both the brunette and the silver-haired man drew faint until it completely stopped. But he didn't. While he looked very uncomfortable and bordering on upset, she watched him force those emotions down and put on a smile as he knelt down, took the woman into his arms, and lifted her up off the ground. The woman struggled at first, but Naruto told her, Hey, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." Haku saw the disbelief in the woman's face, but the woman must have seen the truth in Naruto's eyes before she began to sob heavily against his neck. "It's okay," Naruto whispered to her. "Everything will be okay, I promise." Haku silently followed Naruto as he left the hotel and delivered the woman to Wave's only hospital and watched as he handed her off. The woman didn't want to be without him, but Haku could see him tell her that he would return. The woman was ushered in and Naruto stood there for a moment. Haku wondered what was on his mind. She watched him shake his head and begin his trek to the bridge, and while he still helped people and the smiles he gave them, his smile had dimmed. And it made Haku frown. Haku watched him for the next couple of hours as he worked on the bridge. It seemed most of the construction workers liked him and his work ethic, but it was Tazuna who Naruto seemed to get along with the most, which made sense as Naruto was his bodyguard. But as Haku looked at the sun, she knew that sooner or later, she would need to talk to him to request to join him for dinner that night. With a deep breath, Haku steeled herself and walked down the bridge, ignoring the looks and even whistles of some of the younger construction workers, but she ignored them and pressed, and soon, she could hear the voice of a man shout, "Hey Naruto! Can you get more of your clones under the bridge?" She watched as Naruto, who was currently dressed in a pair of tan pants and a white shirt with a headband on his forehead, no doubt there to keep the sweat from his eyes. "How many you need?" Naruto yelled. There was silence. 10 at least," came Tazuna's shout. She watched as Naruto summoned 10 clones and ordered them to head to Tazuna, and it was then she walked up behind him and said, "I see you're hard at work, Naruto-san." Naruto's head whipped around in surprise before it melted into a smile. It was odd how as she walked up to him, she could see him deep in thought, but he was quick to become the cheerful shinobi that he allowed people to see, but with the smile he gave, she knew it was a sincere one. And that thought alone melted a little of the frost that surrounded her heart. Hey Haku-chan, Naruto said as he sat down the pickaxe. I missed you last night. What's up? I came to see if you would have lunch with me, as an apology for missing last night, and if the offer is still open, maybe I can have that dinner tonight perhaps? Haku drifted off with a sheepish smile. For you? Always, Naruto responded with a tone of sincerity. Haku flushed. He was too genuine when he was with her, and while it was refreshing to see this, it was also harder for her to deal with. This is only a mission. He is an enemy, she chanted to herself mentally as a smile formed on her face. Wonderful. So what about lunch? She questioned. Hold on, Naruto said as he rushed over to the edge of the bridge and shouted, Hey boss, I'm going to lunch now. About damn time, came the reply. 1 hour, kid. Naruto quickly came back and said, Let's go. I am starving. Haku smiled at the over-exaggerated groan of his words and nodded, and the two walked side by side as they left the bridge and began their trek, both of them ignoring the wolf whistles, but it was the shout of, Oh, Naruto has him a sweetheart, that made Naruto whip his head back at the smirking teen. Get Benjirameshi! Naruto shouted, but Haku could see the amusement on his face as the men laughed and waved him off. They seem to like you, Haku said as Naruto huffed but grinned. Yeah, they may be dumb, but they are good guys who want to bring prosperity back to Wave. It's hard not to like them when their goals are so noble, Naruto responded before he looked to Haku and asked, So, where are we going? There is a spot in the village that overlooks the ocean. It should be a wonderful place to eat, Haku told him as she continued to lead him across the village, but as the duo walked, the two saw a small girl in front of a window of a deli. She had fair skin with matted, dirty black hair that was tied in a messy ponytail. She also had on a tattered gray dress, but was startled by Haku was how emaciated she looked. Naruto must have noticed this as well because he walked up to the child and tapped her shoulder. The girl turned around slowly and Haku watched a smile appear on Naruto's face. Despite the dirt on her face, the girl was very adorable with her heart-shaped face and bright blue eyes, but it only made Haku's heart ache. She must have been no older than 5. And for a split second, Haku was reminded of herself when Zabuza had found her so long ago. Hi, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. What is your name? Naruto asked with a friendly smile. The girl looked nervous, but she mumbled Emi. What a beautiful name, Naruto said with a smile. Well, Emi-chan, are you hungry? Emi nodded hesitantly. Great. My friend, I was going to have lunch. Would you like to join us? Naruto asked. The girl looked at Haku nervously before she turned back to Naruto. The little one must have seen something in his eyes because she nodded. Naruto stood up and took her hand and said, Come on. Haku-chan, lead the way. After 20 minutes of walking, Haku stopped and turned to Naruto and the girl. We're here, Haku announced as she sat down on the bench. The area was on a large hill that overlooked both the bridge and the ocean. The sun was high up in the sky and from the light, the water shimmered. It was a gorgeous sight, and from the odd look on Naruto's face, he had never seen it before. Whoa, it's beautiful, Naruto breathed out. Naruto then turned to the young girl and asked, Don't you think? The little girl nodded bashfully. Well, let's not keep you waiting. Haku-chan, the food, Naruto said with a smile in her direction. Haku nodded and pulled out a blanket and set it across the ground and placed out the food. It was a modest amount for 2 people. There were 4 sandwiches, some chips, and even an apple pie that she had secretly created at her hideout while she made dinner for her master. Perfect, Naruto said with a smile before he turned back to the girl and asked, You and Haku-chan eat up okay? Haku glanced at Naruto, who shot her a small smile and looked back at the girl, who now had a large smile on her face. Thank you, Emi finally said as she took a sandwich. Naruto had just told her earlier how hungry he was previously, and yet he willingly gave that up for this girl. Haku then glanced down at the smiling Emi and saw the beautiful smile on her face. This is really good, she said happily. Compliments to Haku-chan. She made them, Naruto said as he looked at Haku. Haku saw their blue eyes sparkling with happiness, and she couldn't help but smile at the sight. Thank you, Haku, Emi said softly. Is really good. Anytime Emi, Haku told her, as she choked back the guilty feeling in her stomach. If only Emi, and Naruto for that matter, knew that she was working for the man that had potentially done this to her. Haku kept to herself as she watched as Naruto and the small girl talked and realized that girl, who had been very shy before, was now very talkative while Naruto returned the small child's exuberance with his own. It seemed so natural for him to do this. And when he looked at her, she felt her own smile begin to form. Naruto then turned back to Emi and began to tell her a fantastical story about his shinobi career, and all the while, he made sure to keep her eating along with regaling her with his tall tales. And Haku sat there and listened along as well, unable to keep her eyes from the blonde shinobi. "This is where I live," Emi said as she stood in front of the orphanage, now dressed in a slightly worn orange dress with black flowers, her face no longer smudged with dirt. Once they had finished eating, Naruto wasted no time in finding her address and was lucky to purchase the last one. It was extremely pricey to Haku, but Naruto didn't hesitate to fork over all of his money to get it for her. It certainly made the shop owner smile. And now they stood in front of her home. The building was somewhat run down, but through the windows, Haku could see a few children on some floor mats, most likely sleeping. "How long have you lived here?" Naruto asked softly. "Since Mommy and Daddy went away a few weeks ago," Emi explained. Haku ignored the guilt in her heart rising at the sad tone the little girl took and instead watched as Naruto's eyes softened with understanding and sadness of his own. "I see," Naruto replied. There was a haunted tone in Naruto's voice as he said this, and it made Haku worried. The front door slowly creaked open and an elderly woman with long gray hair, a simple tan dress, and onyx irises walked out of the building and said, "Ah, there you are, Emi-chan. I was so worried." "Ah, Kiba!" Emi exclaimed as she ran to the old woman. "Naruto-ni and Haku-ne took really good care of me. They fed me and everything." "Did they now?" the old woman questioned. Emi nodded, then turned around. "Will you two come back tomorrow?" "You know I will," Naruto confirmed. "I will try," Haku told her, but she turned to Naruto, and there was this look of melancholy in his eyes and had her concerned. "Thank you, Naruto and Haku-ne," Emi said as she embraced both of their legs and ran off back into the orphanage where an older woman ushered her in. "Thank you so much, Shinobi-san, for bringing her back," the woman said with a bow. "And thank you for taking such good care of her when you found her. She's been through a lot." "It was no problem at all. Emi-chan is a very sweet girl. I'm glad I could help," Naruto responded with a faint smile. Keith smiled as well and departed back into the orphanage, which left Naruto and Haku alone. "Naruto-san, are you okay?" Haku asked with concern. Naruto took a shuddered breath. She could see the sadness in his eyes, but before she could fully acknowledge it, it vanished under a wave of happiness. But Haku could easily tell that it was forced. "I'll be fine. No sweat," Naruto told her with as much bravado as he could muster. "I better get back to the bridge and keep working. The sooner I can do that, the sooner I can." "Stop," Haku interrupted him softly. Naruto trailed off. Haku walked to him and gingerly brought him into her arms. She felt him stiffen against her before she slowly relaxed and returned the embrace. She could feel his body tremble against hers, no doubt holding back his tears. "You don't have to hide with me," Haku whispered into his ear. She could feel her own emotions well up in her chest as she held him there, and as much as she tried to fight them down, she couldn't. "He's my enemy," Haku thought again, but unlike before, she sounded so unsure of herself. Naruto skidded backward on his heels in front of the tree as 3 clones advanced and began to rapidly jab at him. Naruto attempted to block each strike as fast as he could. A 4th clone's foot tripped him up, which caused Naruto to fall off the front of the tree and onto his back on the ground, but flipped to his feet as the 4 clones landed on the ground and caught the jab of the first clone, then pushed the clone forward into a right hook to dispel it. He then twisted his body to simultaneously avoid a straight kick to his head and hopped into the air to deliver a roundhouse kick to the back of the second clone's head, which dispelled it. With his momentum from the roundhouse kick, Naruto allowed himself to spin around to deliver another kick to the face of his third clone as he shouted Shunpukyaku, twirling gale kick. Naruto landed on his right foot and the third turn of his body and landed a final kick to the 4th clone's chest, which dispersed it, leaving him in front of his 5th and 6th clones. Naruto used his right forearm to block a left jab from his 4th clone, then ducked and blocked a low right kick from the 5th clone with his left hand before he rose up sharply with a shout of Shoryuken, Dragon Smash, and delivered dual rising uppercuts, his body spinning to hit both clones, dispelling them. Naruto landed on the ground and turned his body to see 2 more clones in a mad dash toward him. Naruto looked behind him and saw the tree and hissed as he brought his hands together, cupped them at his right side, and where energy began to form in his palms as he ran forward. This was his moment to finally succeed. With eyes glowing with power, a focused Naruto leaped into the air and lunged his hands forward with a shout of Hadouken, as 2 clones launched themselves at him. A medium-sized orb that swirled with energy escaped from Naruto's hands and managed to nail 2 of the clones, energy repeatedly drilling into them before both the clones and the attack exploded, leaving a small flutter of energy behind as Naruto's body flew back from the release of the attack. Naruto's feet collided against the ground where he then skidded backwards on his feet and landed on one knee, a wild grin on his face. After 4 days of intense training, with his entire body sore to the point of breaking, he had finally done it. He had successfully done a Hadouken. It was the intermediate one from the range and the size of it compared to what he saw in the scroll, but it was way better than the near-palm version of the Hadouken. Speaking of which, now that he could pull off the Hadouken, what would he name the beginner version? It had no name to speak of, and despite it being short-ranged, Naruto could work it into his moveset, but he didn't want to confuse the two. If the Hadouken or Surging Fist was the more taught version, then maybe I should call this super closed range one the Gattaken the Self-Way Fist. Yeah, that's perfect, Naruto said as he opened his scroll and began to write down the Gattaken as the hatchling's version of the Hadouken. There, so no one else can be confused if I pass this on, of course, Naruto murmured as he leaned against a tree. The sun was high in the sky as Naruto sat against the tree, his body barely hidden by the nice shade the leaves provided him. He had found this spot nearly a mile away out of Wave's exit village during his trek 4 nights and had been training since. In that time, he was able to successfully tree walk, do his first Hadouken, and perform the Shunpukyaku, but the strain his body felt from each success was brutal. He knew in time that he would be able to successfully pull them off consistently, but he definitely needed more training, so for now, the newly christened Gattaken, the Shoryuken, Dragon Smash, and Tornado would have to suffice, but at least he was progressing through the hatchling style nicely. Naruto let out a yawn, shut his eyes, and began to doze off. After 4 days of intense training, it was time he got some rest. Naru and I. Where are you? Emi's small voice shouted as Haku looked around with a subtle look of distress on her face. Naru and I? She yelled again, her voice taking on a sadder tone, which made Haku's heart clench up in misery. It had been 4 days since she last saw Naruto. It was killing her. She had looked high and low throughout the village, but there was no sight of him. The first day he was gone, she had chalked it up to him being with his team, but on the second day when she went to Tazuna's home, Sakura had explained that Naruto had been missing since that night he walked out. Worried, Haku had gone to the orphanage with the hope that Naruto had gone to see Emi the day before or that day, but when she asked Emi, the little girl had said he had not visited and immediately grew upset. Haku regretted telling her, but when she tried to leave, the little girl wanted to help find him since they were both so nice to her, and unable to shake the warmth that filled her chest, Haku accepted, and together on the second and third day, they searched the deceptively large village for him. But to her surprise, they didn't find him on those 2 days, and with each second that passed, the more terrified she became. Had Zabuza gotten to him before her mission was up? Had that egotistical monster Gato or someone associated with him gotten to Naruto? Hakune, will Naru and I come back? Emi asked with a tearful expression after 30 minutes of search led to no results once again. I don't want him to go away, she sniffled out. Haku stared down at the small girl and then knelt down to embrace her. Since Naruto had gone missing, Emi had looked as worried as Haku felt, and for some strange reason, it made her angry at Naruto, despite her worry. Haku smiled at the small girl and replied, he will. I'm sure of it. He was supposed to be her enemy, and yet, the thought of him being out of her sight scared her more than she thought it would. Come on, Emi, let's keep looking for him, Haku gently told the girl. Emi nodded, and together, she and Emi continued day 3 in search of the blonde shinobi. But as they did, Haku replied that night in her head to try and figure out why Naruto had gone missing. The last time she saw him was the night she came over for dinner. This good is delicious, Haku said to Tsunami as she dug into the beef and rice. It had been an hour since she had arrived at Tazuna's home with Naruto, and so far, she was having a fantastic time and she found out so much. Hatake Kakashi was a laid-back pervert who read Ike Ike Paradise in front of his students. Haruno Sakura was a smart girl who was enamored with Uchiha Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke was one of the last Uchiha clan members and was mostly quiet and kept to himself, but seemed polite. And Uzumaki Naruto. There were too many words to describe him, but the word that Haku associated with him the most was the heart of the team. And it made sense. If it was just Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke, she doubted anything would get done, but Naruto was like their anchor in a way. He brought Sasuke out of his shell, helped Sakura talk about anything other than the Uchiha, and pulled Kakashi out of his book enough to engage with his students, even if it was them trying to take a peek at his real face for most of the dinner. Or in this case, puns? Okay, Naruto began. You guys hear about the new restaurant called Karma? There's no menu, you get what you deserve. Haku giggled as Sasuke and Sakura groaned. Stop it, Naruto, Sakura whined out. You're going to get Kakashi-sensei started. Dope, I will kill you, Sasuke threatened, but Haku could hear the faint good-natured tone in his voice. That was pretty impressive, Naruto, Kakashi said with a nod. Oh Kami, it's starting, Sakura whispered to Haku, who smiled. I have one. Light travels faster than sound. That's why some people appear bright until you hear them speak, Kakashi said. There was silence until both Naruto and Haku began to laugh. That was a good one, sensei, Naruto said with a wide smile. But I got a better one. What do you call a bee that can't make up its mind? A maybe. Ugh, Sasuke groaned out. Kill me now. The furniture store keeps calling me to come back. But all I wanted was one night stand, Kakashi quipped with a laugh. But who will kill me if I kill you? Sakura replied to the now despondent Uchiha. But despite how annoyed they were at the pun-off, they seemed to enjoy it as well from the tiny smiles they had. It was at seeing this that Haku began to understand that Naruto brought out the jovial nature of everyone he met. You make me sick, a small voice told them, which prompted all of them to look at the small boy at the entrance of the kitchen. Haku had seen this child around the village a few times since she arrived. Normally at the dock with a fishing pole, but lately, she had seen him following Naruto. Because of her own mission, she never knew why, but it seemed like now was the time she would find out. Haku could see Naruto's expression change from surprise into a soft gaze. Surprisingly, the Uchiha's face softened as well, but it was more subtle than the blonde's. She looked back at the boy and saw hopelessness, loneliness, and turmoil. Too much for a small child to have. What do you mean? Naruto asked him softly, his voice laced with kindness. Trying to make everyone so happy and cheerful? The boy asked, his own voice thick with sorrow, his eyes hidden by his hat. Every day you walk around this village, always sticking your nose in everything even though you know nothing about this land or its people. You keep trying to bring joy and happiness when there isn't none. Inari, Tsunami admonished, but Haku could see the tears fall down the young boy's eyes. He's not a match for Gato's men. None of you are. No matter how nice you are and how cool you act, you'll always lose because strength always wins out over kindness. Inari yelled out before he pointed to Naruto and said, and it makes me sick at how frivolous and carefree you act with us when you know nothing of the pain we've endured. Haku could see Kakashi give Naruto a look, and while it was subtle, she could see his body stiffen and his eye have a look of remorse in them. She suddenly saw Naruto stand up and walk to the small boy, and slowly, he knelt down so he stared the boy in the eye. You're right. If you feel like I disrespected you and your village by trying to make light of all of its sorrows, then I'm sorry, Naruto told him softly. I can be a moron at times, but the one thing that I will never do is belittle the pain you feel. The boy looked surprised at his words, but Haku could see that despite the soft tone, Naruto's eyes showed a hidden anger and pain within them. And while I won't belittle that pain, you shouldn't go around acting like you're the only one who hasn't experienced it, Naruto told him with a firm tone. You haven't, Inari began. You have a mother, right? Naruto asked sharply. You have a grandfather? Inari paused. Do they love you? Feed you? Protect you? Support your dreams? Naruto counted off questioningly. When Inari didn't answer, Naruto barked, do they? Yes. Inari exclaimed in surprise. I never had that luxury, Naruto replied softly with a haunted tone. I never had anyone that loved or cared for me. The village that I come from treats me as if I'm nothing but a ghost to them because of their own bullshit fears about something I'm not. Hell, I was so unwanted, not even the orphanage wanted me. I knew nothing of the love of companionship for a long time. Haku was stunned to hear Naruto speak so candidly regarding his past, and even felt her heart break at how alone he truly sounded at this moment. I never had anyone to love or care for me, so I had to resort to being a prankster to get anyone to notice me. Can you imagine your life without your mother or grandfather around? Can you imagine being alone and unwanted? Can you? Naruto asked him. Inari looked down as more tears began to fall in earnest. No, the boy croaked out. Then I envy you for having that, Naruto told him as Haku saw his eyes shining in pain, but just like that, the pain was gone and a smile was on Naruto's face, the pain replaced with a fierce determination. She watched as the shinobi placed a hand on the boy's covered head and said, I don't know what you lost that made you lose faith and happiness, but when things get tough, at least you know you're not alone because you have that support system I don't have. Naruto gave the kid a wide smile. Shit may be bad right now, but trust me, it will get better, and you know why. Because I'm making it my personal mission to stop him once and for all. No matter what it takes, Naruto told him with a determined tone. But why? Inari whispered to him, why does it matter to you so much? Naruto's smile lessened into a smaller, gentle smile. Gato has made you and your entire village cower in fear of him, and those he hired, and I don't take too kindly to bullies like him. Plus, and it might be silly, but I don't like seeing children cry, Naruto responded before he stood up and walked away. Was he telling the truth? Haku asked, almost shocked at her own words as Inari stood there in stunned silence. Every word, Kakashi sadly confirmed. Haku quickly excused herself and ran out of the house. She had to find him. Haku continued to think until she and Emi found themselves at the exit of the village that led west, but as she thought more about it, she began to understand more about Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto was a gentle-hearted shinobi who hailed from Konoha. He always went out of his way to help people and seemed to be a rather skilled shinobi, but after what she found out, he was also an unloved, discarded orphan in a village that hated him for something she had no clue about. He must have been so sad and alone for so many years, and seeing Inari and Emi the way he did only made him hurt further. He saw himself in them. Bringing a smile to the faces of those I helped makes it worth it, his words echoed within her mind, but this time, she saw them in a new light. It wasn't just the old man that had set Naruto down this path, no one had been there to make him smile when he truly needed it, and because of that, he went out of his way to make others smile. To give them the comfort and joy he had never been given. Oh, Naruto, Haku whispered. Hakune, why are you crying? Emi asked. Haku blinked and reached up to touch her face. She could feel the moisture beneath her fingers and realized she had been crying. I'm just worried, Emi-chan, Haku told her. But it'll be okay once we find Naruto. But moments after she said this, she saw it. A little way outside of the village gates, she saw a figure sitting beneath a tree, and despite the shade, she saw that familiar sunblonde hair. At this point in her life, she could recognize him anywhere, and apparently, so did Emi, because, without hesitation, she ran off with a shout of, Naruto. Naruto's eyes opened drowsily only to feel the little girl collide with his side, which sent him falling to the ground. Despite the small body, she felt heavy. Must have been due to how weak his body felt from the endless training. Emi-chan? Naruto said. He leaned up off the ground with a lot of difficulty, and stared at the small blue-eyed girl who sobbed into his chest. Hey, what's wrong? Naruto asked with concern. I was scared you went away. Emi wailed as she dug her face into his chest. Hakune, and I looked all over for you and you were gone. Guilt filled him as he gently hugged the girl and murmured, Hey, I'm sorry, Emi-chan. I should have come and visited you before I left, but I had to train to stop that mean old Gato from making more people cry. Really? Emi sniffled out. Naruto nodded with a smile, hiding the wince of pain. Even his face hurt from all the training. Okay, Emi murmured, her blue eyes shining with as much understanding as they could for such a young girl. But you gotta visit if you leave again? Okay? Okay, Naruto replied before something occurred to him. Wait, you said Haku was with you? Emi nodded as she wiped her tears. Naruto looked around for a moment only to see Haku in the distance. She had her arms crossed and he could feel the simmering anger radiating off of her, even at this range. He had really made her angry. Come on, Emi-chan, let's go see Haku-chan, Naruto told the little girl. She nodded and scooched off of him so Naruto could stand up. His entire body trembled in both pain and exhaustion, but he made sure to pick Emi up, despite the difficulty, and slowly made his way to Haku. As he made his way to Haku, he saw that there were several emotions that sat on her face. Anger, relief, and sadness, but the strongest one was guilt, but he wondered why. She had no reason to feel guilty. Haku-chan, Naruto began the moment he stood in front of her. Haku took Emi out of his arms, which caused the small girl to protest, but with a small smile to the girl, Emi calmed down. With some difficulty, Naruto summoned a clone, which caused Emi's eyes to widen in shock. Woe to Naranai's? Emi whispered in awe. Yep, the clone said with a smile. Why don't I take you back to the village and play while Boss and Haku talk? Does that sound like fun? Emi looked conflicted as she turned to Naruto and Haku. No worries, Emi-chan, we'll join up with you, Haku said sweetly. Promise, Naruto said with a grin. Emi nodded with some reluctance before she began to walk back with the clone, who immediately tossed her into the air and began to run while holding her up, which made her squeal in happiness. Naruto and Haku both watched the pair leave, and once they entered the gates, Naruto suddenly fell forward, his legs giving out from the heavy exhaustion, but Haku caught him. "Oh, Naruto," Haku whispered. "Why did you push yourself so hard?" "Sorry," Naruto softly apologized. Naruto felt Haku adjust until his arm was over her shoulder, and together, they began to walk toward the village entrance slowly. "Why did you leave like that? You had your teammates worried, you had me worried, but you had Emi worried too," Haku admonished with a frown. "I'm sorry," was Naruto's simple but genuine reply. "You were gone for 4 days," Haku told him, a little harshly. "Why didn't you just tell me that you wanted to train? I wouldn't have gotten so concerned if you had." "I had to do it," Naruto said. "You had to?" Haku repeated. "I did," Naruto replied. "Did Inari's words hit you that hard that you had to put your body through this?" Haku asked him, her voice shaking with anger. Naruto paused and looked down. Haku stopped as well. "I don't know what happened to Inari that made him this way," Haku told him as she moved just enough to keep him supported along with facing him. "But you shouldn't take his feelings and beat yourself into the ground because of it. Nor anyone else's." Naruto looked away from her. "Haku-chan, I..." Haku placed a finger over his lips, her eyes softening. "I know now the reason behind why you do the things you do, but you have to remember something. People do care about your well-being. You don't have to destroy yourself to make others happy, you deserve more than that." Naruto looked down. "I don't know what I deserve," Naruto told her, an unsure tone in his voice. Slowly, Haku lifted his head up so he could look at her. "You deserve everything this world has to offer," she told him softly. "And I wish I could give that to you." Naruto stared at her in surprise at her words, but it was then something shifted in his heart, and he could tell that something shifted within Haku's as her eyes softened in a way he had never seen before. Slowly, the pair tilted their heads as they leaned in close, and with the sun high in the sky, green leaves falling all around them from the gentle sea breeze, their lips connected in a gentle kiss. How could she have been so stupid? How could she fall into this trap? She had been careful, hadn't she? She had to have been, and yet all she could do was imagine his lips against hers, the breathtaking sight of his smile that reminded her of glimmering gold, and the look of warm adoration in his sparkling blue eyes. She had done missions like this before. Infiltrate. Weaken. Sabotage. And defeat. And she had never allowed herself to get attached, and yet she has. She has attached herself to him. Somewhere along the line, she had given him the most precious thing she had, and now she was a compromised weapon. It had been 2 days since her kiss with Naruto, and she was unable to face her master like this. She was unable to look him in the eye because her heart had been stolen by the golden-hearted shinobi. But at the same time, she could barely look at the object of her affection either. She was sent there to sabotage and betray him, to hurt him. And if that was not a poor decision, she made another one with Emi. The small and sweet orphan girl with glittering blue eyes that matched Naruto's. She had captured her heart in a different way. She wanted to protect her and care for her, and as she watched Naruto chase the squealing girl around, she felt even worse. Because she was happy. She should not allow herself to be happy like this. She was going to hurt Naruto with her eventual betrayal. She was going to hurt Emi by Naruto's death, and the further subjugation of her village due to working with the man actively trying to use them for his own profits like slaves. Her employer hired her master and herself to intentionally shred the last bit of hope that this small village could have. She was actively working against what Naruto was here to stop. She should not be here with her enemy and this small girl. She should not be happy nor rewarded with her treachery. And yet, this happiness persisted within her. The more she looked at Naruto and Emi, their bright blue eyes, she slowly began to imagine a life with them. It was through this feeling that Haku finally understood why her mother fought so hard to keep their family together. For moments like this. And it only made the pain in her heart grow. Because while she loved the thought of being a family with Emi and Naruto, she was her father's daughter. She was going to betray Naruto. And she would soon after. And Emi would be alone again. Just the thought made her sick to her stomach. "Hakune! Help me!" Emi happily shrieked. Haku looked up to see Naruto with Emi in his arms, her face beat red with laughter as he tickled her. "You better help her, Haku-chan," Naruto laughed as the girl managed to escape from his attack and run to her. Despite her growing guilt, Haku could not help but open her arms as Emi leaped into them and hid against her as a smiling Naruto approached. "Ah! You got to safety right on time, Emi-chan, Naruto said as he sat down beside Haku. Tickling is like torture, Haku chided softly but sweetly. Yeah. Torturing, Emi agreed with a pout, although Haku could see the sides of her tiny mouth were turned upward. Okay. No more torturing, Naruto promised with a smile before both his and Emi's stomachs began to grumble in hunger. Despite her somber mood, Haku let out a gentle laugh, leaned to the side, and pulled out a picnic basket. Here is lunch, you two, Haku told them. 6 sandwiches, a small bundle of strawberries, and a little leftover of the apple pie you two couldn't finish yesterday. Strawberry? What is that? Emi asked as she looked up at Haku with her big blue eyes shining with curiosity. They are another type of fruit. Like apple or lemon, Haku explained as she lifted one out and placed it in Emi's hand. This is a strawberry, Haku said. It has grass on top of it. I don't like it, Emi said with a pout. It's always weird trying out new things, Naruto said with a nod. I myself hated the leaves on the strawberry too when the old man tried to get me to eat one, but watch this, Naruto said as he took the strawberry and plucked it off. And would you look at that? It's gone! Whoa, Hakune, did you see? Emi asked excitedly. I sure did, Haku replied. The minute I learned about that, I had all the strawberries I could afford, Naruto said as he gave the small girl a smile and the strawberry back. Try it now. Emi looked at the strawberry and took a bite, then gave a wide smile. It's delicious! Emi exclaimed before she continued to eat it. Now, slow down, Haku chided softly as she grabbed a napkin and wiped the red juice from the young girl's face. Don't want you to get too messy now, Haku murmured until the girl's face was clear. Emi beamed up at Haku before she opened the picnic basket to get more strawberries, and when she found the small baggie, she held them out to Naruto with big blue eyes. Can you make other leaves go? Emi asked. Haku laughed as Naruto grimaced at the large amount of strawberries that were in the baggie. He looked at her laughing and asked, You find it funny, don't you? Very much so, Haku replied through her laughter as she looked up at him. Despite his grimace, his eyes were practically glowing with happiness, and it nearly took her breath away. Please? Emi asked, which caused Naruto to look down at Emi. How could I say no to that? Naruto replied softly as he took the strawberries, summoned a clone, and suggested, Why don't you go play with Clone and I while I work on these? Emi nodded, shuffled off Haku's lap, and ran over to the open area as the clone chased after her. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. Had I known she was going to dislike the leaves so much, I would not have picked so many, Haku explained sheepishly, but Naruto shook his head, a smile forming on his face. Don't be. Really, I am glad to do this for Emi-chan, Naruto replied as he began to pick the leaves off of the strawberry. I've been thinking about what you said the other day, Naruto told her. About taking Inari's sadness and adding it onto my shoulders. Haku remained silent. All my life, I've been alone, Naruto admitted softly. I'm used to that. I know that I can handle it. But seeing Inari that night, seeing him so heartbroken and scared, it reminded me a lot of me when I was his age. Same with Emi. Naruto looked ahead to watch Emi and let out a soft sigh. I just couldn't bear to see it again. Naruto, Haku whispered. I know that I throw myself into things that I should not do, but I do not want anyone to suffer the sadness and loneliness that I have. I want everyone to be happy and smile. I want there to be a world with no sorrow. I know that is impossible, and I know I'm just one person, but I've seen what a smile can do. Emi is the prime test of that. Haku and Naruto watched as Emi screamed with happiness, as the clone tossed her up and down in the air with the utmost gentleness. When we met her, she was shy and dirty and alone, but since then, we've made her smile so much. Naruto laughed softly, but Haku could see his eyes watering. I made that little girl happy, and to me, that's worth more than being the Hokage. Hell, being a shinobi, Naruto said with a wide smile of his own. As long as I can bring a smile to anyone, all the pain that I go through would be worth it. But with that said, I take your words into account, Naruto told her. I want the world to be happy, but I don't want my own goal to hurt those I care about. I don't want to see you, or Emi, be brought to tears due to worry if I overtrained, or even sadness if I was hurt, or even killed. Haku flinched at the word death and murmured, Emi would be crushed if anything were to happen to you. I would too. I know, Naruto said as he took both of her hands. I know that saying this now after knowing for a while is dumb and reckless, but I cannot help but feel this way. I already told you that I never had anyone that really cared about me until very recently with Iruka-sensei and maybe the old man, but you and Emi? You two did not shun me or turn me away or anything. You both liked me for me, and I've never had that in my life. It may have been a short time, but you and Emi mean more to me than anything the Hokage's chair, being a shinobi. Hell, even ramen. You two trump all of those things, and while I know the village doesn't like me all that well, as long as I have you two, I can face anything this world throws at me. Haku did not want Naruto to say those words. She absolutely hated that he did. Because she could feel her heart soar at them, but she could also feel it break as well. Naruto, Haku breathed out shakily, tears building in her eyes. This mission is almost done. Kakashi-sensei believes when it's near completion, Zabuza and his accomplice will come and fight us, Naruto told her. Haku felt her heart break even more. I know we can beat them, so I'm not worried about that. I am worried about what comes next. I will be leaving Wave and going back home. I know that much, but two don't want to leave without you or Emi, Naruto softly revealed. What are you asking? Haku asked him, begging him not to say the words she knew he would, because she knew in her heart that she would not be able to refuse him. When this is done, I want you both to come back with me, Naruto told her with earnest blue eyes. This first time in a long time I've been this happy that I felt like I had a family, but I don't want this to be just a one-time thing. I want this to be every day. Just the three of us, and if you do, I promise that no matter what happens in the future, I will always come back to both of you. Haku finally broke down and began to sob heavily. Haku, I didn't mean to make you cry, Naruto said in a panic. I'm sorry. I would want nothing more, Haku told him through her tears before she found herself in Naruto's arms. She wrapped her arms around him and held him tight as she buried her face into his neck. She knew from the moment she said those words that it was true. She wanted to be with Naruto and Emi. She wanted to be with him. She made her choice. But had Haku paid attention, she would have noticed a figure watching in the distance, and was rapidly approaching. It was not until she heard Naruto's gasp that she pulled away from him in confusion. Naruto-kun? Haku asked with concern. So, this is where you've been playing family, a low, commanding voice said, which caused her blood to run cold. Slowly, Haku turned around and saw her master, his face hidden by the straw hat that cast shade over his face, along with a long tattered cloak that hid his body. Haku paled considerably as that sick feeling came back to her stomach, and tears spilled from her eyes. Without hesitation, Naruto stood up, and placed Haku behind him. You, Naruto darkly whispered. Surprised to see me, Gaki? Zabuza asked. Haku, get Emi and get far from here, Naruto told her. No, she will stay right here, Zabuza commanded. Haku began to violently shake as her world crumbled around her. Haku, what are you doing? Get Emi and go, Naruto yelled. Haku, remain, Zabuza commanded. Because three of us are going to have a very long chat. The air was thick with tension as Naruto faced off against Zabuza. Blue irises locked onto black as goosebumps began to form on Naruto's body as the miasma of malice flowed from the man. It was so thick that Naruto felt he was going to choke on the sheer hatred that surrounded him. But he would not back down. Not in front of Emi and Haku. Naru and I. Hakune! Emi screamed as she rushed into Haku's arms, her irises shaking with terror. It's okay, I've got you, Naruto heard Haku whisper to Emi as the older girl embraced her. How precious, Zabuza muttered as his eyes narrowed. What are you doing here? Naruto asked him, anger simmering in his voice due to the fearful whimpers Emi was giving out. I am here to retrieve what is mine, Zabuza said as he looked over Naruto's shoulder. Naruto followed Zabuza's gaze, which landed on Haku and blinked in confusion before he turned back to Zabuza. Judging by that stupid look on your face, she hasn't told you, Zabuza taunted with a chuckle. Well then, why don't you tell him, Haku? Tell me what? Naruto asked. Haku lowered her head, which caused Naruto to narrow his eyes. Why are you afraid, Haku? Zabuza taunted. Are you afraid that his loving gaze will leave you? That it will morph into a look of disgust and anger? Please, Haku whispered. Zabuza-sama, please don't make me tell him. Zabuza-sama, Naruto repeated lowly, his eyes locked on Haku's trembling form. Hakune, you're crying, Emi murmured as tears fell down Haku's cheeks. Tell him, Zabuza told her. Haku let out a gasp before she shut her eyes. Naruto, I work for Zabuza, Haku admitted. I was sent to spy on you, learn your weakness, and then exploit it. Naruto remained silent. My mission was to sway you to my side and use your trust to destroy you and kill Tazuna, Haku continued sadly, her head still bowed, no doubt due to trying to avoid looking at him. That was my mission. Why? Naruto gently questioned. When I was Emi's age, I had a family, Haku began softly as she tightened her hold on Emi's shaking form. They were simple farmers in Nizu no Kuni, a very brutal and harsh place that feared those with Kekkai Genkai due to a civil war. There wasn't a lot, but there was love, and that's all we needed. One day, I found out I had a Kekkai Genkai and showed my mother. She smacked and scolded her but explained why she had done it afterward. She told me that what I did was dangerous and to never do it again, but little did I know, father had seen and heard it. Haku paused to take a shuddered breath and continued her tale. That night, my father came home with a mob and killed my mother, but before he could kill me, I killed everyone. Naruto felt his heart break as Haku took another shuddered breath as she finally looked up at him, her eyes shimmering with tears. I was alone until I was 7. I was forced to do a lot of things to survive, but one day, I met Zabuza-sama. He asked if I were willing to become his weapon, and seeing no other option, I accepted. I wanted to tell you after we kissed, I truly did, but I was scared, Haku admitted. I did not think you would understand why I became his tool, but each time I tried, that fear would overwhelm me. You see, kid? You may have seen a cute girl who fell in love with you, but that was all a mask that I told her to wear, Zabuza interrupted suddenly, catching Naruto's attention once again. The Haku you protect is not the Haku I created. I raised her to be the obedient little tool she is. If I had told her to kill that brat and you, she would. No question asked, because that is what shinobis do. Tool? Naruto questioned before anger swelled in his chest. Haku is no tool. Not to me, and especially not to you. You are truly naive, just like all Konoha shinobi, Zabuza hissed out. Let me spell it out for you. Shinobi are mercenaries and trained spies hired by various people of power, both good and evil, to do their bidding as their tools of destruction. We were molded to be liars, thieves, and killers. There is nothing honorable about us. There is nothing human about us. Naruto watched as Zabuza stared past him at Haku and said, I saved her life. Gave her a home when she lost hers. Fed her when she had no food. Trained her from nothing into the fearsome kunoichi she is. All to cultivate the skills she had that I needed her to have. Her skills are what is tremendously important to me. Not her. That is what we agreed upon when I took her in. Haku flinched, and Naruto felt his anger spike to dangerous levels as a saddened expression appeared on her face. Naruto eyed Zabuza before he turned back to Haku and said with a gentle tone, Thank you for finally telling me the truth. Haku's eyes widened in surprise. What? She breathed out. Naruto smirked. Yeah, I knew this entire time. Since the moment you and I met that you were his spy. How? Haku breathed out. Naruto dug into his right ear with his pinky as he explained with, Simple, I had noticed you watching me when my team and I first showed up. The only time someone is watching after me is when they plan to do something to me, so seeing you watch me set off alarms in my head. So, after we talked at the bridge on my 3rd day here, I had a clone shadow you that day. He took note that you did not stay in the village and left when night fell. The 2nd time we met up, he followed you to a stone fortress. The 3rd time, the clone saw you stop those mooks from touching Zabuza, and that was 2 days ago. Naruto, Haku whispered. I'm an idiot, I won't deny that, but when I have a gut instinct, I follow it, and it followed me right to Zabuza, Naruto told her softly. If you had not watched me those first 3 days I arrived, I would have not suspected you at all. Zabuza cackled in amusement, which caused Naruto to turn back to him. Well, look at you. Thinking like a true shinobi. It explains why dozens of Gato's men were killed, and why I had to escort him to another location before coming here. But now that you know, why do you still protect her? He asked. Because despite your words, if she were truly a tool, she wouldn't be crying or have been scared when you showed up, Naruto said to him, angrily. If she were a tool, she wouldn't be holding Emi to keep her calm. If she were a tool, she would have not kissed me or tried to soothe my own insecurities and push me. If she were a tool, she would be able to close her heart and kill me with my back turned to her. And most of all, if she were a tool, she wouldn't have looked so hurt when you said you cared not for her but for her skill. With that shout, Naruto's eyes flashed an ominous violet-colored chakra that began to flow off his body like wisps of smoke. So, for you to call her a tool in front of me is insulting enough, Naruto murmured. But to say that in front of her front pisses me off. Naruto screamed before he dashed towards Zabuza and then leaped into the air, his right arm cocked back with energy forming in his palm. Zabuza chuckled darkly and reached back to grab the hilt of his blade. So much malice in you, Zabuza noted as he pulled his blade from his back. Gattaken! Naruto yelled as he lunged his arm forward towards Zabuza, who twisted his blade to the flat side and blocked the energy ball, which caused a flourish of violet energy to explode against the blade. You must hear the truth in my voice, brat. That is all she is, and no flowery words from you will ever change that. Zabuza roared as he swung his blade to swat Naruto away. Naruto skidded on the heels of his feet as Zabuza held his blade before him, only for his eyes to widen in surprise as a large crack appeared on it. Naruto dashed forward once again and Zabuza wasted no time in swinging the Kubikurabocho, but Naruto's body seemed to fade out to avoid the swing, only for Naruto's form to become solid as he bent down before Zabuza. Shuken! Naruto shouted as he delivered a small uppercut, which caused a small cut to appear on Zabuza's chest, before Naruto turned his body around a full 360 degrees into a brief crouch, then rose sharply and delivered a brutal uppercut, which cut up Zabuza's chest, 3 medium-sized cuts appearing on his chest before it nailed him beneath the chin, which sent them both into the air. Naruto landed on both feet as the violet chakra faded from his body and Zabuza fell to his back on the ground. Naruto fell to one knee and panted heavily before he heard both Haku and Emi scream. Naruto turned around to see Zabuza and 2 clones, each one holding his precious people in them. Naruto turned around and saw the Zabuza he defeated explode into water. You really think I would come ill-prepared? Zabuza asked. Zabuza, Naruto growled darkly. Here is the deal, runt, Zabuza said. This is my tool. Do you want her? Meet me tomorrow at the bridge. Come alone and we will settle this. You win, you get your girls back, and I will even serve Gato up on a silver platter for you. You lose, I will make you kill them both and you will replace Haku as my tool. I will see you then. Before Naruto could respond, the 3 flickered away with a swirl of water. No, Naruto whispered with dread. So he finally revealed himself and took Haku and little Emi hostage, and he wants to fight you. You win, we get Gato and you get your girls. You lose, that is bad for us. That sounds about right? Kakashi summed up. Naruto nodded. This whole thing is strange, Sakura said as she crossed her arms. I mean, why Naruto? I screwed up his plans, Naruto explained. Haku was supposed to spy on me, but her falling in love with me and caring for Emi messed it all up. Naruto glanced at his hand and closed it into a fist, the color of his irises flashing from blue to purple. I'll make him pay, Naruto hissed out. Calm down, Naruto, Kakashi urged gently. I understand that you have 2 people you care about hanging in the balance, but we need to be smarter. Your hunch paid off greatly after discovering Haku was associated with him, but now he has the advantage. We need to swing it our way, and I think I know how. Sasuke smirked as he pushed himself off the wall and asked, What's the plan, sensei? Naruto, you will meet Zabuza at the bridge tonight. You will distract him for as long as you can possible. During this, Sakura will free Haku and Emi. Meanwhile, Sasuke will go locate Gato and bring him to the bridge. He must not be far from Zabuza if Zabuza knows where he is. Once we secure our targets, I will take over the duel and Zabuza will be defeated. But why send Sasuke-kun on his own? Sakura asked. Sasuke was the rookie of the year, and we slew Gato's men. Gato is all that remains and I doubt he will hold up against Sasuke, Kakashi said. Sasuke smirked. Naruto looked unsure, but then he nodded. Alright. Sounds good, I'm and Naruto agreed. Good. Let us work out the details of the plan. We have until nightfall to iron it all out, Kakashi said as the planning commenced. Once the plan was done, Kakashi pulled Naruto aside and said, Naruto, there is one special thing about the Kagebushin that you must know. Anytime a clone is dispelled, you see what they see and learn what they learn. I knew that, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto informed. It was in the description of the jutsu in the Forbidden Scroll. But you have yet to see it in battle. This is why in preparation for tonight, I will teach you what that means in terms of battling with them, Kakashi told him. Naruto nodded. Hakune, I'm scared, Emi's upset voice said as she sat in a cell across from Haku. Haku's heart ached as she sat there, her wrists and hands bound to keep her unable to do any jutsu. It's okay, honey, Haku said as she looked across the hall to Emi, who sat balled up in a corner, her small body trembling. This won't be for long, okay? I want Naru and I, Emi sobbed out. Haku's heart felt as if it was breaking from the sadness in Emi's voice. She had to figure something out. Anything. But try as she might, the bindings on her wrist and hands were too tight. Damn it, Haku swore in anger. She looked back at Emi and said, Don't worry, honey. Naruto-kun will save us. But until then, I will protect you. I promise, okay, Emi-chan? Emi's large blue eyes stared at her from across the hall and Haku felt her own eyes watering. Haku had never felt so powerless before. Okay, Emi said with a shaky nod. That's my girl, Haku said with a faint smile. It seems false promises are also something that brat must have taught you, Zabuza's voice echoed down the hall. Haku froze as his shadow eclipsed the light in front of her and blocked Emi from her sight. Zabuza-sama, Haku murmured. I just wanted to know, kid, why? Zabuza asked. I raised you, protected you, molded you to be the perfect shinobi. You had done this before to people far stronger than him, and yet he is the one put that chink in your armor. Why? Haku remained silent for a moment. There are a lot of reasons. The ones that you had me do this to were horrible, evil men, Haku started. But Naruto, he is not. Haku could not stop the smile from forming on her face as she thought back. Your eyes, they are beautiful up close. I was unaware of this. It was his eyes, Haku said. The first thing I noticed about him was his eyes. They are beautiful like sapphires. And when he would smile or laugh, they would brighten to an almost radiant degree. I realized that each mission is important to the ones that grant it. Even something as simple as walking a dog, while it annoys me, could mean the world to that person, and so because of that, I realized that bringing a smile to the faces of those I help makes it worth it. The second was his outlook on being a shinobi, Haku said. He did not see us as tools or weapons. He sees us shinobi as protectors to those in dire situations like those in Wave. He sees shinobi as people who want to protect and bring smiles to the faces of those they help. I even watched him put them to action, so I know that this is not some trick or ploy. He sees shinobi as people. I'm not foolish to think all shinobi are good. Many shinobi are as evil as you say. And many are shades of gray, but we are people. I never had anyone that loved or cared for me. In the village that I come from, they treat me as if I am nothing but a ghost to them because of their own bullshit fears about something I'm not. Hell, I was so unwanted, not even the orphanage wanted me. I knew nothing of love or companionship for a long time. His life was hard like mine was, but he never had someone take him in and train him. He was alone his entire life. Unloved. Uncared for, unwanted. He knew nothing of compassion, and yet. Shit may be bad right now, but trust me, it will get better, and you know why. Because I am making it my personal mission to stop him once and for all. No matter what it takes. But why? Why does it matter to you so much? Gato has made you and your entire village cower in fear of him and those he hired, and I don't take too kindly to bullies like him. Plus, and it might be silly, but I don't like seeing children cry. And yet he showed compassion to a child that lost it all, 2 of them in fact. And he wanted to bring happiness back to a village that Gato robbed them of. Not to be a hero, but to stop children from crying, Haku said. And he would push himself past the breaking point to keep his word. Zabuza's eyes narrowed as she stood up and faced him. I fell for him because, in this world of death and darkness, he is a beacon of light. My beacon of light, and as much as I care for you, Zabuza-sama, my feelings for him eclipses yours. Zabuza chuckled, which caused Haku to immediately become on edge. Well, it seems he has fully indoctrinated you, Haku, Zabuza noted with a hidden smirk. You seem to view this boy as some beacon of light, a paragon through and through, an anomaly of what I have taught you all these years. Zabuza crossed his arms and chuckled again. I was going to originally have him kill you and the brat, and become my apprentice until I would kill him. But now I know exactly what needs to be done, Zabuza told her. Tonight, I'm not just going to defeat him. I am going to make sure I do everything in my power to destroy this image of this Messiah you have imagined him to be. Haku's eyes widened in surprise as Zabuza's smirk deepened. Everyone has a dark side. Even your little Sapphire, and I am going to bring it out. I am going to reveal to you his true side and then crush him beneath my heel so that before I have him murder you and the girl, you will understand deep down everyone is just as ruthless, just as dark, and just as violent as I can be. So make peace with yourself and the silly thoughts of that little Sapphire of yours. Haku looked down as Zabuza walked off, his laugh echoing through the hall. After hours of prepping for the plan, hours of last-minute preparations, Naruto walked alone through the village of Wave, his face emotionless but his eyes raging with the fire of determination. It was time. As Naruto watched, he saw Kakashi jump from roof to roof at a safe distance with Sakura by his side while Sasuke ran in another direction. Naruto could see the bridge coming up, and in the distance, he saw 3 figures standing in the middle of the bridge. Naruto narrowed his eyes and continued his walk until he stopped in the middle of the bridge, where the 3 figures became clearer. All 3 of them were Zabuza. The one in the middle with his arms crossed Naruto assumed to be the real one, while the 2 Zabuza stood stoically behind him. You have arrived, Zabuza noted with a smirk beneath his bandaged mask. As I promised I would, Naruto replied. Zabuza chuckled. You're a man of your word, little Sapphire. While I will be taking everything else away from you tonight, I will give you that at least. Zabuza then stepped aside, to reveal that the pair of Zabuza had their right and left hands in a large orb of water, where Haku and Emi sat. "Naru and I!" Emi screamed from the orb. "Naruto-kun!" Haku yelled out. "To make sure that there are no interruptions, I have trapped your prizes within my Suetun, Suiro no Jutsu, water release, water prison jutsu," Zabuza told him with a chuckle. Naruto growled. That was going to make Sakura's job so much harder. He could see the fearful expression on Haku and Emi's faces, so he pushed his anger to the side and smiled at them. "Haku-chan. Emi-chan. Do not worry. I will have you both out of there in no time. I promise. Tonight, we fight to the death. Well, you will be fighting to kill me. Once I die, they will be freed, but the longer you take, the more oxygen begins to be sapped, so you do not have a lot of time," Zabuza told him as he blocked the view of the prison. Zabuza removed his blade and stabbed it into the ground beside him, his eyes gleaming with malice as the red wisps of killing intent flowed from his body. "You know what is at stake, boy. Do not hesitate to kill because I won't," Zabuza told him. Naruto narrowed his eyes as Zabuza charged toward him and yelled, "Time to do this, boy!" Naruto dashed forward as he shouted, "Bring it on, bitch!" With their battle cries shouted, their fists collided. "True bout start, Zabuza, pledge of demon from Yakuza 0. Naruto immediately opened his palm against Zabuza's fist and shouted Gattaken. With an explosion of energy, the pair was forcibly split apart, with Zabuza skidding backward on the balls of his feet, while Naruto shouted, Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 5 clones appeared beside him as they all skidded backward on their heels. "Go," Naruto ordered. 2 of the clones dashed forward, with one leaping into the air with a shout of tornado, while the other skidded into a crouching position. Zabuza managed to block 2 rotations of the first clone's kicks but caught the foot on the final rotation only for the clone beneath him to shout Shoryuken, Dragon Smash, and deliver a rising uppercut with both fists nailing him in the jaw as the 2 went into the air. Zabuza grabbed the right wrist of the clone and with a yell, threw both clones on the ground before he crashed to the ground, his feet crushing the heads of the 2 clones, dispelling them into smoke. Naruto immediately motioned for the remaining 3 clones to charge, only for Zabuza to shout, Suetun, Suryususu, water release, water flowing lance. 2 lances flew from the smoke and pierced one clone through the chest while Naruto himself was nicked in the right shoulder, but Naruto merely summoned 5 more clones and as the dust settled, the 7 clones leaped out and engaged Zabuza in combat. When you officially begin your battle with Zabuza, the first thing you will do is summon a few Kage Bushin. Kakashi's voice floated through Naruto's head as he observed the clones pushing Zabuza back with each flurry of blows. "When we first fought him, Zabuza was too overwhelmed with us double-teaming him. The tempo of our movements kept him off guard, so you will want to overwhelm Zabuza with your clones. Give him no room to breathe. With each clone dispelled, summon double of it." Zabuza punched 2 clones in the face only for 4 more clones to appear, 2 knocking him in the stomach and the other delivering a double roundhouse kick to his face. Zabuza skidded back and began to form seals, but 1 clone leaped forward and kicked Zabuza's left hand while another clone grabbed his right hand. Zabuza backhanded the clone that kicked his left hand, then brought his right hand up and headbutted that clone, dispersing them both into smoke, only to feel 2 feet collide with his face, which sent him skidding backward into 3 more clones, each of them cupping their hands to their sides. "Hadouken!" The 3 shouted as they lunged their hands forward, which caused 3 medium-sized orbs of energy to collide against his back, which sent him forward as a clone shouted Tornado, and delivered 3 brutal rotating kicks to Zabuza's face, which sent him to the ground. Zabuza flipped to his feet and caught the fist of 2 clones with each hand before he kicked one in the stomach, then pulled the other one close to land an elbow on that clone in the face. He then twisted his body and clotheslined a clone, who tried to land a flying dragon kick and slammed him to the ground. "Every shinobi has a blind spot," Kakashi's voice instructed as Naruto received memories of each fallen clone in his mind. "Try to position your clones around him to find it. At some point, Zabuza is going to realize what you are doing in trying to overwhelm him, so he will get smarter, but if you keep the right number of clones and know that blind spot, it should keep him on his toes enough for you to keep the edge." "Enough of this. Suetun, Hogosha no Yubiwa, water release, ring of guardians," Zabuza shouted. Suddenly, a swarm of water flew from the side of the bridge and circled Zabuza, and took the image of several little imps with comically large swords, slashing at the clones that were near the protective ring. Naruto winced as the memories of his fallen clones entered his head, but he did realize the blind spot Zabuza held. The right side of Zabuza's body was his blind spot. "So, it seems you do have some brains," Zabuza said with a smirk. "Unfortunately, this is where your good luck ends. Another thing I've learned is that shinobi, especially strong ones, are prone to letting their anger rule over them. Be sure to lean into that. The angrier they get, the sloppier they become. Zabuza seems like he is this. Anger him enough and he will be blinded by it, Kakashi's voice instructed. Naruto summoned 8 clones as he replied, blah blah blah, can we get on with it? I have people to save. Zabuza growled and dashed forward. Naruto smirked and ran towards Zabuza as the 4 clones behind him cupped their hands at their sides while the other 4 clones leaped over Zabuza and Naruto and spun around in the air with their hands cupped at their sides. Just as Naruto met with Zabuza, the 8 clones shouted Hadouken and fired small-sized energy balls, with the 4 behind Naruto sailing past him and colliding with the ring while the 4 in the back also collided with the ring, causing it to disperse in a pool of water just as Naruto ducked a right jab, stepped to the right, twisted his body, and delivered a brutal sidekick to Zabuza's right side. Too slow! Naruto exclaimed. Zabuza growled and turned around and threw a right jab followed by a left, which Naruto avoided, the first with a sidestep and then the second with a block as he threw his own jabs, which Zabuza blocked, only for a shout of Hadouken to be heard, followed by 4 balls of energy to collide in this back. Zabuza stumbled forward as Naruto moved past Zabuza's right side and delivered another hard sidekick to the right side of Zabuza's torso. Zabuza growled, brought his hands together, and attempted a hammer blow, but Naruto blocked it with his right forearm, allowing a clone to run and deliver another kick to Zabuza's right side. Zabuza turned around and backhanded the clone, only for Naruto to kick the right side of his torso again and smirk when he felt something snap against his front foot. Zabuza growled in pain as he turned around and delivered a sharp right hook to Naruto's right cheek, but Naruto countered with a punch to the middle of Zabuza's face, which caused both shinobi to skid backward from the blow. Naruto skidded backward and Zabuza quickly approached and landed 2 hard punches to Naruto's face, but before he could do anything more, the shout of Hadouken was heard, followed by Zabuza being pelted by 4 small flaming chakra orbs to the left side of his body. As Zabuza staggered to the side, Naruto leaped into the air and shouted Shunpukyaku, twirling Gale Kick. With a burst of chakra, Naruto landed a roundhouse kick to Zabuza's face, spun a full 360 degrees, and landed another kick to his face, which knocked Zabuza to the front in the direction of his sword. Naruto rotated once again and delivered a kick to Zabuza's upper chest as Naruto's body began to lower closer to the ground. Naruto then landed on his right foot, and with the last turn of his body, he landed the final hard kick to Zabuza's stomach, which caused Zabuza to skid towards the back row of his clones. Zabuza used the momentum of Naruto's previous attack to leap in the air, twist his body around, and deliver a wild roundhouse kick to disperse the 4 clones before he grabbed the hilt of his blade and launched it toward Naruto. Naruto leaped in the air to avoid the blade, but the clones behind him were too slow and were dispersed by the blade. Zabuza then turned around and flickered to his blade and grabbed its hilt as Naruto fell to the ground, his hands cupped at his sides. Just as Zabuza appeared behind Naruto with his blade raised in the air, Naruto turned around and shouted, Hadouken! This caused a large fireball filled with chakra to collide with Zabuza's chest, which sent him flying backward before the attack exploded with a flourish of energy. Naruto panted, his hunched-over body trembling as his veins began to become visible and glow a faint turquoise color. Naruto took a breath and leaned upright as he watched Zabuza stab his Kubikiri Hocho into the bridge to slow his flight and landed on both feet, small droplets of blood falling down his chest. Naruto then watched as Zabuza threw his head back and laughed. Wow kid, you are damn impressive. I needed to use my dear blade on you. Zabuza barked as he held his blade out to Naruto. You have my respect, he shouted. Naruto felt a cold edge fill his gut at those words before Zabuza suddenly flickered away. Naruto's eyes widened as he felt an intense feeling of malice behind him. Unfortunately, little Sapphire, that means I won't be going easy on you any longer, Zabuza said from behind him. Naruto quickly jumped to the left to avoid the downward swing of Zabuza's blade to cleave him in half. Naruto landed on the heels of his feet, but Zabuza appeared before him with his blade in mid-swing. Naruto ducked the wide swing and shouted Shuken, as he delivered a small uppercut only for Zabuza to explode into cement. Zabuza appeared above in the air with a shout of that won't work this time kid, and with a mighty swing, the blade cleaved through Naruto, only for Naruto to explode into smoke. Kagebushin? Zabuza said in alarm before he turned around and swung his blade upward to destroy another clone. Zabuza twirled his blade as he spun behind and cleaved through 3 more clones before he turned around and caught Naruto's fist and booted him hard in the chest, which sent Naruto skidding back on his heels. Naruto's back hit the side of the bridge, but Naruto used the momentum to roll off the edge and hang onto the railing to avoid the downward slash of Zabuza's blade, which cleaved through the side of the bridge, the edge barely touching Naruto's head. After a few seconds, Naruto flipped over the edge with a shout of tornado, and delivered a hard kick to Zabuza's face, twisted his body, and aimed another kick to the Nukenin's face, but Zabuza caught the foot and swung him to the opposite side the bridge, only for Naruto to explode in smoke again. Zabuza narrowed his eyes and shouted, "You can keep running, but remember, time is running out for them." Suddenly, Naruto sprang forth over the railing behind Zabuza and slammed his knee into the back of Zabuza's head. As Zabuza leaned forward, Naruto rolled over the back of Zabuza's shoulder and neck and placed his hand on top of Zabuza's head, then shouted Gattaken. A flourish of energy collided with Zabuza's head, which propelled Naruto into the air as Zabuza flew against the edge of the bridge. Naruto twirled in the air and then landed on his feet only to buckle to one knee, the glowing of his veins more noticeable as he panted harder. Naruto's vision began to blur, which made Naruto close his eyes and shake his head before he opened them again. A low chuckle was heard, which caused Naruto's head to snap up to see Zabuza, whose head was slumped down as blood dripped down his head to his face. Zabuza lifted his head and chuckled louder before he said, "Look at those veins, cannot move. Trouble breathing? Is your vision blurry? Looks like someone is suffering from chakra exhaustion." Naruto's eyes widened. "First time, huh? It always hits harder the first time around. It seems all those fancy moves, those Kagebushin, and those chakra fire balls have worn you down," Zabuza said as he stood up tall while Naruto panted, struggling to move his limbs, but they felt as heavy as lead. "This is where I want you, battered and weak," Zabuza chuckled. "Meanwhile, I am still standing tall." Zabuza began to approach Naruto. Zabuza picked up his blade as he towered over Naruto, a smirk on his bloody face. "I've faced down a lot of opponents of all levels, but you kid, you've managed to not only impress me but infuriate me at the same time," Zabuza said. Naruto struggled, but he rose to his feet, his eyes glancing to the distance where he watched the tall form of Kakashi in the middle of a battle with the two Zabuza's clones, which allowed Sakura to grab Emi and help Haku to her feet. Zabuza paused and looked over at where Naruto looked and smirked before he turned back to Naruto. "You think I did not know?" Zabuza asked. "You really think I was dumb enough to think you would come here alone? You should have been smarter than that." Zabuza swung his blade, and with all the energy Naruto had left, he dashed backward to avoid it, but the blade managed to hit its mark, causing a massive spray of blood to fly from Naruto's chest as the blade sliced from left shoulder to right hip. Naruto landed on his feet and grasped at his chest. It was a glancing wound, but it was deep enough to cause blood to spill from it. Naruto was suddenly rocked by a right hook, which caused him to skid back against the edge of the bridge. Zabuza reached down, pulled Naruto up by his GI, and launched him to the right, which caused him to glide against the bridge before he slowed to a stop. "I knew they were hiding on the edge of the bridge the moment you showed up. I'm surprised they waited so long," Zabuza said with a chuckle. "I know your friend is also looking for Gato. Fortunately, I left him where he would be easily spotted. Which is the end of the bridge past Haku, bound and gagged. You see, kid, I worked for Gato for the money, and once I killed you and your team, he was going to die next. I would be a hypocrite to work for him when I did not want to work for my own Kage, who was just like him." Zabuza picked up Naruto by the back of his GI and threw him again, ripping the top of his GI off to only show the skin-tight black shirt beneath it. "It could have all been so simple," Zabuza said as Naruto got up on all fours to try and stand. "But you kid, you caught my eye when you interfered with my fight with Kakashi and gave him the edge to defeat me, and then caught my ire when you stole my tool from me." Zabuza delivered a hard kick to Naruto's stomach, which caused him to skid against the ground, blood leaving his lips. "I told you before, Gaki, we were molded to be liars, thieves, and killers. There is nothing honorable about us. There is nothing human about us, and Haku went along with it for years until you showed up. You have twisted Haku's mind into believing that there is nobility in being a shinobi. That there is honor, decency, and caring in this dark dealing with death. You have fed her all of that bullshit, and that is why I challenged you." Naruto rose to his feet shakily, only for Zabuza to immediately force him back down with a vicious kick to his face. "And despite your admittedly impressive skills, in the end, you now understand that this is the difference between a genin and a jonin. A genin must surpass their limits to put a dent in us, while all a jonin must do is hold back enough to not kill on the first blow, and no matter how skilled you are still a mere genin." Zabuza hissed out, and Naruto rose to one knee, only for Zabuza's left foot to collide with his face, which sent Naruto skidding back on his ass until he slowed to a stop. Naruto slowly rose to his feet on shaky legs, only for his legs to give out and fall to his knees, his head slumped down. Zabuza said as he summoned two more water clones, who nodded and ran towards where Kakashi was battling the other two, his strides slow and deliberate as he walked towards Naruto. I said that if you were to lose, you would work for me and I would force you to kill Haku and that brat, but now I think I will prove to Haku that a soft-heartedness is not fit to live in this line of work. Zabuza finally stopped in front of Naruto, whose breathing had slowed, and the turquoise glow of his veins turned into a deep purple. So here is the new deal: I will kill you and I will bring your mangled corpse to her. Then when Haku breaks and becomes the tool I desire once again, I will order her to kill that girl to cement her loyalty to me. Zabuza lifted his blade into the air. Just remember, Haku's permanent submission and the death of that girl is all on you. Zabuza swung his blade down to Naruto. You need to hurry, Haku implored as Sakura worked on the bindings of her hands. I'm going as fast as I can. Man, he really made sure to make your bindings as hard as possible to get out of, Sakura noted as the sounds of Kakashi battling the 4 Zabuza clones raged on in the background. Sakura finally cut through the final rope with a shout of Yada. I did it! As the rope fell from Haku's hands. As Emi immediately jumped into Haku's awaiting arms, the sounds of combat also ended as 4 splashes of water were heard, which caused Sakura to look and see Kakashi, who slipped his kunai back into its pouch. Sensei! Sasuke's voice shouted. Sakura, Haku, and Kakashi turned around to see Sasuke and a Kage Bushin of Kakashi, with a bound Gato on his shoulder, running up to them from behind. Found Gato. He was on the other side of the bridge, Sasuke explained as the shadow clone nodded and exploded, which made Kakashi shake his head in a brief amount of pain. Good, we're all here and okay, let's get to. Kakashi was interrupted as a pulse of malice filled the air. That feeling it can't be, Kakashi whispered as turned around while Sakura, Sasuke, and Haku gasped. Near the other end of the bridge, there were several thick tendrils of purple chakra that swirled into a tower, where the shape of a fox's head appeared. We need to go now. Kakashi yelled, only to stop when he saw Haku speed past him. Zabuza's eyes widened in surprise as thick tendrils of purple chakra began to rise from Naruto's body, his blade caught in the grasp of the kneeling boy. Naruto slowly lifted his head to reveal thicker whisker marks and glowing fox-like purple irises. But the changes were not only his face. His skin had become paler, and his hair had become a platinum blonde compared, and his veins were violet in color and were throbbing. Theme of Satsue no Hado, Herald of Gargos from Killer Instinct. Thank you, Naruto said, his voice darker and edgier as a wide smirk appeared on his face. And goodbye, Shinryoken. Without warning, Naruto's body rose from the ground and his left fist glided up Zabuza's body as violet flames engulfed his fist, tearing up Zabuza's chest before Naruto's fist collided with Zabuza's chin. The two rocketed into the air with a twirl, of violet flames swirling in the air as a pillar of violet light surrounded the pair. While the two were in the air, Naruto grabbed Zabuza by the neck and twirled their bodies around before he launched Zabuza down towards the bridge hard. What the hell? Zabuza croaked out as Naruto let out an insane laugh as he cupped his hands to his side as violet-colored flames swirled into his palms. Naruto's laughter grew as he threw his arms forward, which caused a large, flame-covered Hadouken to fly down at Zabuza. Zabuza switched himself out with a cement block, which exploded upon impact in a pillar of flames, only for Naruto to be standing in that spot, his fist embedded in the bridge. Zabuza held his bleeding and charred chest as he gripped the Kubikiri Hocho. Zabuza released his hilt and quickly formed his preferred hand seals, and with a deep breath, he exhaled Kirigakure no Jutsu, water release, hidden mist jutsu. The surrounding area quickly became shrouded in a thick mist, but through that mist, he could still see those glowing irises of Naruto. But then those irises flickered out of existence. Zabuza felt a presence behind him and quickly turned around and blocked a punch from Naruto using the flat edge of his blade, only to blink when a crack appeared on the other side. Naruto began to laugh as violet flames began to coalesce behind the blade before Zabuza heard Gattaken, and with an explosion, the Kubikiri Hocho shattered into pieces as Zabuza was sent backward into the air from the force. Zabuza skidded on his feet as violet irises sped to him at top speed before they flickered to his direct left, where he felt a hard punch land against his left jaw. Zabuza retaliated with a right jab at the direction of the eyes, but the eyes flickered, only for him to feel a punch collide against his right side, causing his ribs to shatter from the blow. Zabuza turned his body and tried to aim a kick, but the eyes flickered once again and Zabuza met nothing but air. Feeling malice behind him, Zabuza turned around only to feel Naruto's foot collide with his jaw, which sent him into the air. Shippuden Naruto started as Zabuza felt the boy's foot leave his jaw as the light of violet flames covered his foot. Zabuza then felt Naruto's flame-covered foot collide against his stomach, his right jaw, his left kneecap, his right hip, and his left shoulder before finally feeling Naruto's foot slammed into his chest. Jinraikyaku, lightning speed leg. With that shout, Zabuza was carried into the air as Naruto rapidly rotated, Zabuza's body being showered with flames as he whipped back and forth against Naruto's extended leg before Naruto ended with one last turn and a hard kick to Zabuza's face, which sent him sailing back into the thick mist and crashing down into the ground. Zabuza struggled to rise to his feet as the mist began to part, revealing Naruto's form, a feral smirk on his face. "You're still alive!" Naruto exclaimed happily as he sauntered over to Zabuza's body. "You know something, ever since I was born, I really hated people. Well, people in my village anyway," Naruto explained. "But that moron, he just would not listen to reason. He was so big on trying to take the high road and prove himself and make others smile." Zabuza narrowed his eyes as he pushed himself onto his feet, but he crumbled to the ground. When he realized that those last few attacks had broken his left kneecap, and it is funny because when Haku and Emi came into our lives I thought I was wrong. We had gotten good karma after all we suffered, but then you came along, shattered that dream, and made me hate you. And tonight, when my foolish other half was down and out, you gave me a slim chance to take control. "You're not the kid," Zabuza said as he leaned up enough to stare at the boy. "Not even remotely, no. I guess I don't have a name, do I?" Naruto paused and tilted his head in thought before a smirk formed. "I guess, well, I doubt it matters because you won't be alive for too much longer to use it." Naruto dashed forward, which caused astral projections of himself to appear and follow his movements, and slammed his knee against Zabuza's face, which caused Zabuza to skip against the bridge as he sailed backward. With the projections following him, Naruto dashed behind the sailing Zabuza, skidded to a stop, and delivered a hard jab against Zabuza's lower back before he shouted Shoryuken, which sent Zabuza high into the air as flames covered Zabuza's body. With blood dripping down his back, Zabuza crashed to the ground and rolled once before he shakily rose to one knee and shouted, "This isn't over yet. Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu!" A large water dragon sprouted from the side of the bridge and flew towards Naruto. Naruto laughed and swung his right leg hard as he shouted Tatsumaki Senpukyaku, Hurricane Kick! Violet flames covered Naruto's foot as he rotated his body rapidly as he moved forward towards the dragon. The moment the dragon's head met Naruto's fire-covered foot, it withstood the first kick, but once the second kick collided with its jaw, the dragon exploded into steam that wrapped around Naruto's spinning body. On the final rotation of Naruto's body, Naruto lowered his leg, cupped his hands together, and shouted, Shikanetsu Hadouken, Scorching Heat Surge Fist. A violet flame-covered Hadouken flew towards Zabuza. Zabuza vaulted off the ground with his arms to avoid the flaming attack, but that proved a mistake as Naruto dashed forward and leaped into the air with violet flames flowing into his open right hand as his projections followed him. Zabuza looked up as a smirking Naruto shouted Zanka Hadouken, Slashing Air Surge Fist. A weaker, violet flame-covered Hadouken flew from Naruto's hand and slammed into Zabuza's face, which sent Zabuza flying back until he crashed back down on the bridge. Blood dribbled down Zabuza's face as he smirked, his vision blurring as Naruto landed in the distance. "Do you see this, Haku?" Zabuza hissed out as leaned up on both knees and began to form seals. There was an evil side to him, and I have a feeling you will see the aftermath of how dark he truly is. Because even if I die here, I will have proved my point that darkness exists in all shinobi. Zabuza shouted as he finished his seal and screamed Suiton, Daibakufu no Jutsu. A large ring of water formed in front of Zabuza from both sides of the bridge before the large vortex of water flew toward Naruto. Naruto let out a wild laugh as he cupped his hands to his side as blue and violet chakra wisps flowed from and around his body into his cupped palms. "So, this is how you fall," with a pathetic dying gasp. Masatsugo Heido, Annihilating Great Surge. With that scream, a large Hadouken with a large wave of energy attached to the front of it exploded from Naruto's palm, its form flashing from violet to blue as it met the vortex head-on. The two attacks seemed to clash for a moment before the vortex exploded and evaporated and charged towards Zabuza. Zabuza watched as the attack headed towards him, the concrete from the bridge beneath it becoming charred and broken from the sheer pressure of the attack. Zabuza smirked before he shut his eyes, awaiting his fate. Hayatan Makio Hyosho. Ice Style, Demonic Ice Crystal Mirror. A large dome of ice mirrors appeared and surrounded Zabuza before the voice shouted Hayatan, Makio Hyosho Kyutai, Ice Style, Demonic Ice Crystal Mirror Sphere. The mirrors quickly enclosed around him to form a perfect dome just as Naruto's attack slammed into it. Naruto's eyes widened as the smoke cleared from the attack, revealing a gaping hole within the ice dome, but Zabuza was still alive. "What?" Naruto breathed out as the smoke continued to clear, and in front of Zabuza was Haku. Naruto lowered his cupped hands slowly, his irises shaking in both confusion and rage as it took in the sight of her. "Damn you!" Naruto hissed out before he winced and held the side of his head in pain. "Why did you show up now?" Bout end. Haku looked back at Zabuza and said, "Stay. Do not make me regret saving you." Zabuza chuckled lowly and said, "I knew you would. You always did." In the end he looked at Naruto and said, "Do you see it? I have proved it." All of his flowery words were bullshit. Every shinobi has a dark side and I brought his out, and it is strong. Zabuza chuckled darkly and said, "And all it took was threatening you to stay as my tool." Haku ignored Zabuza. She walked away from the dome and through the cracked and burnt cement until she stood across from Naruto, who glared at her with hostility. "You moron," Naruto hissed out. "Why did you wait until now? When I was so close to killing him?" Haku did not answer. She instead took in his image. Despite the similar structure of his face and his height, this Naruto looked like the total opposite of her sun-kissed blonde. She had driven him to this because she was too weak to stop Zabuza from taking her and Emi. All because she was too weak to stand up to Zabuza when she realized that her heart had been swayed to Naruto. "I did this to you," Haku whispered as tears began to fall from her eyes. She watched as Naruto stiffened, his eyes flashing blue before he gritted his teeth and yelled,